Saturday night. Details fuzzy, but it's on the table. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
To the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and go diving toward the end zone. Touchdown!
Yeah, that was the moment probably that really did it for the Indiana Hoosiers. What a game last night. It did not disappoint at all. We were all off yesterday for the holiday, and that was a great way to end it. Now, as we get started, good afternoon, Sue. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great, thank you.
Fred is here. We got Ethan in the studio. Hi, Fred. You, of course, watched the game last night. Sue, did you watch?
I did.
No.
You didn't watch it all.
It was so much closer than I thought it was going to be.
You just didn't, like, there was nothing about last night that said, hey, I'm going to tune into the
traveling.
national. Well, you weren't home by then?
Yeah.
I thought that was your buffer day. You told me that
I
Monday
did
is
have
your
a
buffer day. You just lied. You just didn't want to watch it.
I forgot. I just didn't remember.
That's okay.
And my team's not in it, is it?
Well, you know who remembered was our friend Alex Rich. He was there in person.
I guess
He
so.
joins us on Wednesdays, and he's going to be with us tomorrow. But wait, you're sitting at the Miami airport right now, right?
I am sitting at the Miami airport. There's a sea of Hoosier fans here, and actually I got the pleasant surprise of walking into the airport, and I'm sitting here with Tom Ackerman, the legendary, sportscaster that we all love. But Tom, of course, is an IU guy as well, and we're just sitting here talking about, did last night really happen? Because what a night. And it was electric in there. It was absolutely ridiculous. That play that we just all heard with Mendoza diving into the end zone. There was just every play he was making that just proved why he had the leadership to take that team all the way to go, 16-0. Unbelievable experience being in the building. And it was I will say it was the craziest sporting event all around that I've been
and you've been to a lot.
Ever.
You've been to a fair amount,
I've been to a lot,
right? Yeah.
But even from getting, even the traffic to getting in to everything. Now, I will tell you, because I know it may be one of the questions that you're thinking, there's no chance I would have been able to sneak into this thing at all. Not even a close. My guy from Indy that snuck us in, it wouldn't have worked here. There was like 4 different checkpoints you had to scan tickets at, and
they heard your story is what
ridiculous.
happened. Yeah, for point of reference, if you didn't hear that story a few weeks ago, when Alex went to the Big Ten Championship, you literally got slid in through a door with a guy kind of saying, yeah, he's with me. And it was a crazy story. So then you go to the Rose Bowl, you skip the you skip the semifinal, but my goodness, you had to think to yourself, you're spending a lot of money. Miami looked pretty good from the beginning. That was not a gimme like these other games. I mean, you had to sit there till the very end biting those nails, Alex.
Yeah, look, I think, as much as I wanted to blow them out and not be stressed the entire game, now knowing, obviously we won, we came out with the outcome we wanted, it makes it so much better that it was a close game literally down to the end. I mean, I keep saying if we didn't have that interception at the very end of the game, I think if Miami even got one more play after that, like we could have been in some serious trouble. And what I was also thinking was how devastating it would have been had they scored. They would have won the game by literally 1 point, and a perfect season would have been, tainted by 1 point in the national championship game. So it was awesome, every part of it. I mean, but yeah, nail biter down to the end. And, Miami missing the field goal, that was unexpected. The block punts.
The block punt was amazing.
The block punt was huge. We were actually sitting – I'll tell you what's cool was something that wasn't happening on the field, but we were lucky enough. We were sitting right next to, Fernando Mendoza's family, and just seeing the emotion that they were showing in every play, the energy that, you're watching your kid. Imagine how nervous we all are.
Yeah.
We're over there and can barely breathe, and – his family is just sitting there and he's playing on the biggest stage and he's the biggest name in football right now. And it's so cool to the story behind him and in his home city. And it was just, you gave Indiana every reason needed to go in there and want to win the national championship. And it's funny because I would have to say it was easily a 60-40 split of Indiana fans last night.
So it was you predicted that last week, so you think it was majority Indiana fans for sure?
I do for sure think it was a majority Indiana fans, a lot of Miami fans, but when you were walking in, you could just feel it was different for Indiana fans. And I know that I'm an Indiana fan, so, I may be a little biased on this, but you walked into the gates and you looked around, and the energy coming from our side of fans walking in to the stadium was just so much different than, what Miami was bringing. Look, they had a strong fan base, but our people were loud from the parking lots all the way up, till you get in, and you're just hearing the Hoosier chant every step you take. It's unbelievable.
Well, we'll talk about it a little bit more. I can't believe, so you're hanging with Ackerman. Joe Buck's, you don't have the trifecta with Joe Buck down there hanging with you guys?
I know. Tom, where's Joe Buck? Hey, Tom didn't invite Joe Buck to the airport, so he's not sitting here with us. And here he goes. Here's Tom. Tom's stepping in real quick.
Hey, what's going on? I asked Joe last night. I said, hey, see you at a South Beach bar somewhere tonight? And he laughed and said, I'm going to bed.
Tom, how much fun. I mean, I've been texting both you and Alex. You know how much of a sports fan I am, and you guys got to live this dream. I mean, that was unbelievable last night. This whole season, this is one of the greatest stories of college football all time.
And it's the way that it happened, too, Mark. It's one of the great games of all time. We were just talking here at the airport and said, if we were here now in Miami and we saw Alabama win a game like that to go 16-0, we were just college football fans, we would say, we just witnessed one of the greatest teams of all time win one of the greatest games of all time. It just happens to be our team, our school, and the incredible turnaround. I mean, it was just amazing to witness the whole thing. Yeah, and the run by Mendoza will go down as one of the great plays in college football history. I've watched it about 50 times. I get chills every time I see it. It was incredible.
One thing I will say, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this, maybe even Coach Signetti even referred to this. This season gives the rest of us hope. And I know NIL's got a lot of issues, and it's kind of ugly out there, and it's the Wild West. But a win by Indiana in a season like this gives a lot of schools that never thought they would ever have a chance at a national championship hope that maybe someday you could do the same thing. So it really does represent a lot in that victory last night as well.
Absolutely. And I said this on the Gas House Gang on KMOX earlier today, that football, college basketball, and other sports as well can watch this as an example. In fact, Chaim Bloom, the Cardinals president of baseball operations, told me over the weekend, he said, if Indiana wins this and wins the title, it's something that we all should look at as to how do you organize a team? Who do you get as your leader? How do you distribute power throughout the organization? How do you keep people and retain people so that they understand what you're trying to do each and every year? All of these things are important. It's not always about bringing in the newest stars and trying to just throw it together. You kind of have to keep the thing rolling, and that's what IU did over the last 2 years, but mostly what Signetti did from his time at JMU through now. I mean, it's just
it's amazing.
It really is to think that this could be a movement in sports is remarkable, being the team that we've rooted for and kind of suffered through many years with.
Congratulations, Tom. Tell Alex to not get arrested. We always have to be careful about him. We'll see him tomorrow. Yeah, and we'll talk to you soon.
To him to say bye.
All right, thanks Tommy. We'll see you. That's so amazing that those guys are sitting there. All right, Alex.
You got the 2-for-1, man. 2-for-1 from the Hoosier fans down here in Miami.
That is awesome. All right, have a safe flight back, and I'll talk to you tomorrow afternoon, okay?
Hey, go Hoosiers.
All right, go Hoosiers. That's incredible.
That was awesome.
I mean, I can't believe that they actually got it done. Man, that was a close game. It could have gone either way last night. The punt was unbelievable, obviously. We had a little money on a defensive touchdown, but you don't get that for a special teams play, which sucks.
Oh, that is unfortunate. And it's amazing for Alex. It's amazing for Tom. It's amazing for all the Indiana alum out there. But there's something about, even as like a neutral fan, watching and not having any sort of connections and recognizing that you are witnessing history.
Yeah.
And that's what last night was. And there's something special about that as you're taking that in. Like, you're probably not going to see something like this again in a very long time.
Very long
I mean,
time.
This isn't even talking about Indiana, which historically how bad they had been. This is the first time in 30 years that we had seen a team win their first national championship. The last team to win their first national title was Florida in 1996. So even that, and Florida has had a great historic program. So it's going to be a long time before we see something like this again. Last night was very special for sports and college football.
Well, it was cool. We'll talk about it a little bit more this afternoon. Let's get rolling here because we got a lot of business to take care of. Obviously, we were all off yesterday. We're back at it this afternoon. Paul Mauro's coming up here in a couple of minutes. I still can't believe this storming of a church in St. Paul, Minnesota yesterday, which is just incredible. And the reaction, Keith Ellison, the AG of Minneapolis, acting like, oh, no, that's okay. Anyone could do that. It's fine. Nothing to see here. Leland Vittert from News Nation, St. Louis native, is going to be here with us this afternoon after 3:30. We have some media bias stuff to cover with Curtis Houck in the 4 o'clock hour, our friend Brad Young at 5:04. And then we started this a couple of weeks ago, Tech Talk Tuesdays with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet. He's scheduled at 5:30 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Hey, not a bad commute right now. If you are taking westbound 70 out of downtown, just some moderate volume at Jennings Station Road. 6440 is slowing already, pretty much around Hampton. There was an accident reported really close to 270. There is some moderate volume out there. And an accident reported eastbound 64 at 270 with some volume there. Now, southbound 270, mainly moderate volume, but it stretches from Olive through Doherty Ferry. At 44 westbound is slowing at 270. 55, that's a slow go, but it's mainly right there at Bates. And if you're headed into Illinois, we look fine at this hour, at least on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So you remember how I went into the weekend on Thursday and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a gumbo because I haven't done that in a long time.
Yes.
I did it, but it was the most expensive gumbo that I've ever made, and I'll explain why just after 4 o'clock.
Hi, it's Mark Cox inviting you to join me September 30th as we discover the charm of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany with Colette Travel. Spend 4 nights in Bern and then 4 nights at the foot of the Alps in Innsbruck. From the cobblestone streets to the postcard-worthy mountain landscapes of the amazing Alps, we're going to explore the Swiss capital of Bern and lovely Lucerne, the Swiss paradise on the lake. We'll travel the Austrian countryside to Salzburg with a visit to Mozart's birthplace, and then Mirabelle Gardens featured in The Sound of Music. This and so much more. Colette handles all the details. The flights, the meals, the hotels, the local experiences. All you have to do is have the time of your life. Don't miss this trip. Meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more at the Lodge at De Pere, Tuesday, February 24th at 2 p.m. Call Colette at 800-581-8942 or go to 971talk.com/events for details.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Revitalize your bathroom with big savings at Lowe's. Get up to 40% off select vanities and free delivery during our bath savings event. Plus, get up to 40% off select shower heads. No matter what style you're looking for, we've got you covered. Shop for your bathroom refresh at Lowe's. We help, you save. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities? I'm not going to comment. You have no comment. Exactly.
Yeah, that's Sunday when these protesters took over this church sermon in, St. Paul, Minnesota, which I'm still kind of stunned by. We were off yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but it's still making a lot of news. And what's stunning, maybe I shouldn't be stunned, that Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, is defending this as free speech, which is quite stunning. Paul Mauro is back with us, Fox News contributor. Of course, he's the founder of the opsdesk.org. He's been very busy lately. Paul, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I know you've been all over the place. There's lots of stories to talk about. On this particular one in Minneapolis, I mentioned, I want you to explain what the FACE Act is, and let me play what Keith Ellison said, because the FACE Act is something that might be used here, and we'll explain in a second.
The FACE Act, by the way, is designed to protect the rights of people seeking their reproductive rights, so that people, for a religious reason, cannot just use religion to break into women's reproductive health centers, right? So how they are stretching either of these laws to apply to people who protested in a church over the behavior or the perceived behavior of a religious leader is beyond me.
All right, so in part that's true, right? Because the FACE Act actually does cover those abortion protests, but it also was supposed to address situations like this, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And apparently he did not read subsection B, because subsection B quite clearly states that it applies to churches as well, and it does not necessitate. I can almost read it to you. It's very, very short, and it just essentially says that you can't do what they just did in a house of worship. And he, I think, is construing the law in a way most favorable to his progressive values, but I think he's going to find out.
Yeah, I'm quite
miraculous.
stunned. I know you can have your opinions on all kinds of things, but for an attorney general of a state to somehow think it's okay after hearing the audio and seeing the video of went down, that's rather shocking to me. But I guess it's Minnesota, and we shouldn't be shocked, Paul.
No, we shouldn't at all. It's actually subsection 2. I just looked it up, but yeah, it's quite explicit. It doesn't necessitate that you need an underlying motive or sort of vector of reproductive rights. Were he to have read the statute, he'd know that, or he's just trying to construe it. But that's why he was served with subpoenas today. And I think that's smart, by the way. Rather than just run out, make the arrest, build the case. Serve the subpoenas, and I'd be interested in seeing who served the subpoenas. Apparently it was the FBI, but the FBI is still the operational arm of any aspect of DOJ, and I'm wondering if this is in fact coming out of Harmeet Dillon's office, which is the DOJ Human Rights Division, because that's the division that I think in this circumstance has the most teeth, because not only is the FACE Act implicated, but you have things like the KKK Act, which also has to do with government nonfeasance. That is to say, you're not protecting the rights of these citizens. That can be criminal, but can also be civil, Mark. And why that matters is because the civil is just you don't need a grand jury. You just essentially got to get past a motion to dismiss, which they will. And now you're into discovery, and you can start getting all kinds of communications, serving subpoenas. So I'm wondering if that's the route that they're going, because, boy, the internal communications relative to all this inside Minnesota could be quite damning.
I mean, we've had church shootings, so you can imagine what people might have thought in that house of worship, they didn't know what was going on. There's all this shouting. You got Don Lemon in the mix of all this. Now, since I was off yesterday and, we were focused on the national championship game and all these other things, did this thing get a fair shake in the legacy media? Because, man, you bust into a church and you're doing this for political reasons on our side. That's everywhere. And CNN's going to lead with it for days.
Oh, God help us. I mean, can you imagine if this were done, let's say, in a black church down south, the level of coverage that we would get relative to this? And I bring that in purposely because there were statements made inside the church by some of the mob that went in there relative to race. They said something like these white people are too comfortable. There was some statement like that.
Right.
And then Don Lemon, incredibly, post the event, starts invoking race again, saying that anybody pushing back against the people in there are white supremacists. Their base are white supremacists and homophobic, et cetera. I guess he learned nothing from Jussie Smollett. And frankly, I think that Lemon has talked himself into some trouble here. Bad enough he was there, bad enough he was already embedded with them before the event and filmed it, so very clearly he knew what they were going to do. But then he talks about it afterwards in the context of race, which potentially adds a hate crime overlay to all of this federally. And I think he's got, as I said last night on X, I think that Don Lemon should be thinking about lawyering up. I just wouldn't hire Keith Ellison because I don't think he's much of a lawyer.
Well, he's such a grifter, and, it doesn't surprise me that he's behind something like this or involved because he wants the attention for sure. Now, let's go back to what set all this off a couple of weeks ago with Renee Good and the shooting, Paul, and where your mindset is on that right now, because in the aftermath of that, one of the things I remember seeing a lot last week was a lot of these protesters trying to get in the face of ICE agents with their phones, trying to stop traffic. I mean, they're begging for another fight. Now, I support the enforcement of going after illegal aliens in this country. Don't get me wrong. I do think, though, that you're getting some things that are happening right now. They're going to push people in the other direction on immigration. We're also seeing some of this in the polling right now, Paul. So I think this whole thing is so delicate that you have the narrative about, oh, they're just going after, our neighbors with papers that's starting to take over a little bit.
I'm going to disagree a little bit. I'm going to tell you why. There's no alternative. There are, for instance, 1,300 hardened criminals that are deportable in the prison system in Minnesota, and yet Minnesota won't turn them over, and that is in the state prison system. So when you have all of these people identified, including those that are not in prison, and the locals will not assist you in getting them out, what alternative do you have? If you're sitting where Bavino is, if you're sitting where DOJ is, if you're sitting where Donald Trump is, and you're saying, okay, I was elected to clean this up, what alternative do you have other than to go into these neighborhoods where okay, in this particular neighborhood we have 11 people who have, let's say, felony arrests. They're de facto deportable, but Minneapolis PD will not assist in any way. We got to go in and get them. So they go in to get them, and then, of course, you see what happened with Renee Good. If you had reasonable people in Minnesota who would meet them halfway, instead of the 70% of people, and by the way, the 70% of people that they are deporting have criminal records. The 30%, a lot of them are the people who are getting arrested for interfering.
Right.
So the canard that they're dragooning American citizens out of their cars. I saw an X post where somebody was trying to claim from the left that we're finding unoccupied cars of American citizens who are just being pulled out of their car and arrested. It's just not true. They're not going to do that. It's insanity. So while I understand what you're saying, and I get it, because all of this obviously is an argument, is a battle for the narrative and the optics and the midterms, I get all of that. On the other hand, what alternative do you have?
No,
the
and I
only
understand
alternative
that.
you really have is just to lay down until after the midterms. That's the only thing I can think of.
And I'm not suggesting that, but here's my concern, because I kind of look at this stuff, from a broader political position, which you do as well. So when you get a story, there's a story out of Minneapolis where this guy who was just pulled out of his house because they were looking at some people that potentially were sex offenders in the house. They drag him out in his underwear. They arrest him. He's an American citizen. He gets, he's fine. He's let go. The problem is that's the story that they focus on, right? They don't dig in. And I think the communication by the administration, and maybe Trump was trying to do this a little bit earlier today, but he got, dragged down into this news conference that went on, and he just, reads from the teleprompter. They tried to show some of these people who they were arresting. I think they need to do a better job of that, of saying, here are the people that we're trying to arrest, and they're stopping us from doing that.
I agree. And what they should have, in my opinion, I would argue that there's two things they should be doing. Number one, they should have a dedicated website. On that website should be every arrestee, not just in Minnesota or Minneapolis, all of them. If you want to have a subsection that's Minnesota to show why this has become such a point of contention, do it. Because one of the things I can tell you is the activists cannot stand to have their images there, because a lot of them are cosplaying as activists.
Right,
then they go back to their trust funds, to their 9-to-5s, et cetera. Arrest them on federal charges, go all the way, no plea deals, really, put the weight of the law on them legally, legitimately, and then put the mugshot up, put the charges up. You can do that, and I think that you would actually still a lot of this. And by the way, the numbers even in Minneapolis have been greatly exaggerated. This is not some enormous grassroots uprising. But number two, I think that, to your point, they are not doing a great job with the carrot. It's been all stick. And I think that one of the things we got to remember is that when Donald Trump came in, big part of his immigration promises was the big, beautiful door in addition to the big, beautiful wall. And they're not doing a great job of that. In fact, now we know that they're going to halt all immigration in about a week or so because of everything that's been going on. And I feel like as the head of the executive, he can do it. It's part of his role. Donald Trump should be going, actually, to some swearing-in ceremonies for people who are coming in legally.
Yes,
in fact, what I would
that
argue
is a
would be
brilliant
a great
idea. Yes, that's the
PR
type of
coup.
thing. Look, Paul, that's the kind of thing you
The
have
whole
to
time.
do. Right.
Got to do it. I would do a nationwide one by Zoom. He can do it as the guy that's swearing as the president. He can swear them in. Because it happens in a whole bunch of different cities. Do one nationally, get 1,000 people. He goes on, he swears them in. Welcome to America. At least then you're countering the argument, which is a BS argument.
That is a brilliant idea.
It's all anti-immigration.
We talk about it because we here at Busch Stadium once a year they have during one of the Cardinals games where they take time out to honor all the people that went through the process, and we're proud. We cheer them on, and that that is a brilliant idea. We got to somehow get it to the administration because they should do that for sure. Paul Mauro, always great to have you on. I appreciate it. You have a great week.
You too, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Look for some volume out there on westbound 6440. It's approaching Hampton out through McCausland, slowing again from Lindbergh through 270. There was an accident earlier eastbound on 64 at 270. We've got moderate volume southbound 270 approaching Olive through Manchester, and a little bit again headed down toward 21. 70 westbound looks great out of downtown. Really no delays through there. We're quiet through North County. 55, the usual volume, headed down toward Bates in the construction zone. And then eastbound 64 looks fine, headed for and crossing the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, this is the kind of day that should send you to the phone or at least to the email box and make an appointment with Thomas Helbig from the Retirement Advisory Group. The Dow was way down today. There's some jitters out there about some of the things happening with the economy. And, you have up days and you have down days. And last week we had a really, really good week for Wall Street. The point of all this is you don't know where this is going to land and how it's going to affect your overall picture for retirement. You have inflation chipping away at the value already. So do you have enough money? Thomas and the team want to guide you through that. And they want to do it with a different strategy. And their strategy is safely linking to the market. That's going to lock in your gains. Let them teach you their strategy. You can do this in a variety of ways. One is to wait for our next seminar. We're going to announce one very soon. We do 5 a year. The first one is coming up here in about a month in February. You can also go right into the office. If you go to retirementkey.com, you can click on the tab that's on the front page, or you'll see the email address or the phone number. Make an appointment. Go in one-on-one. You get a free copy of their book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. You'll see if their strategy is something that's appealing to you. I will tell you that having talked to many clients of Thomas in the past, one thing they always say consistently is they wish they would have met him sooner. Check out the Retirement Advisory Group today at retirementkey.com.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate megastores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, Say no to the mega stores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
At Graybar, we know your time is money. That's why our services go beyond parts and products. With kitting, pre-assembly, wire carts, and Graybar smart reels that keep you moving. We stage materials and manage logistics so you can spend less time sorting and more time installing. And with locations nationwide, we deliver when and where you need it, working to make your job easier every step of the way. Yep, Graybar does that.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Freedom has a frequency. 97.1 FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
So you know this, that throughout the, I do this throughout the week, but certainly on a long weekend, I will send Fred some messages and just as a reminder to talk about on the show. So this is what I said, I believe on Sunday morning. I said, Fred, remind me 404 Tuesday. Here's what I want you to say. My gumbo kicked ass, but it was so damn expensive. And I kind of made a commitment to make some gumbo. Hadn't done it in a while. I'll share this story.
I'm ready.
I almost lost a limb, too. I mean, there was safety. Oh, my God. So you have no idea.
Oh, dear.
No idea. This is coming on the heels of me getting pulled over by a cop a couple of weeks ago. We got a civil rights lawsuit that's in the works. I got a lot going on in my life.
Yes, you do.
I want you to know that. But we will share the story. We'll have a Tuesday edition of Sue's News in the next hour. Right now, Leland Vittert, News Nation host, St. Louis native, back with us this afternoon. Hello, Leland. How are you?
I'm fantastic, but I'm now hungry.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. And the gumbo really was really, really good. Hey, did I see that you did a book event this past weekend with the legendary Ben Bradley from WGN?
The one and only.
You know what? A little trivia for you. I hired that guy way back in like 1987 to work for me in a newsroom when he was a Mizzou student. I had an eye for talent, and he's gone on to some great things.
You know, he really has. He also is one of the nicest guys out there. And you know this, I know this from being in this business. Finding just nice, good guys in this business is hard. And when you do, everybody loves it.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. I'm not really close with him, but if there's a Chicago story or something like that, often I'll toss him on to share this story. But I kind of had a better knack for finding talent when I was a news director than being good at having talent myself. But there were a lot of folks that went on to great things, and I'm very proud of Ben because I knew he had talent 5 years ago, 40 years ago. Let's talk about some news that's going on. Here's one question that I had in the previous segment, and I really, Leland, don't know the answer to it because we were off yesterday. Did this event that happened at the Minneapolis church with the protesters get a fair amount of legacy media coverage? I mean, did you guys cover it? Did CBS cover it? Who covered it outside of Fox? Do you have any gauge of that at all?
We covered it a lot in A1, meaning our lead story last night was about this church protest. I didn't watch the evening newscast last night, so I couldn't speak to that. I can say that the New York Times coverage of it this morning was pretty interesting. I sent it around to some friends just to sort of illustrate how it was being covered. So this is how the New York Times covered this. Protest at Minnesota church service adds to tensions over ICE. The Justice Department said it would investigate the protest over a pastor's apparent role in immigration enforcement in the state.
Yeah. Is that really what happened? Is that the story? Because
that is according to the New York Times.
Yeah, but and this was Paul Mauro just made this, kind of example in the previous segment. Let's say that this was a Baptist church in the South, and you had a bunch of right-wingers going in there and storming the church in the middle of a service. I think that would get a fair amount of coverage, especially since there's video and audio that goes along with all this.
You mean to say that there is a double standard in terms of what gets covered by parts of the media?
Yes, a little bit. And that kind of brings us overall to the issue of the shooting in Minneapolis and Renee Good. Because, Leland, you've been around this business for a long time, and I have too. But it's amazing that two sides can come away with completely different takeaways on something like that? I mean, there's seemingly no middle ground there at all.
Correct. That's because for both sides, any type of admission of fault is weakness. Compromise is a dirty word. And for large parts of the media, there is a financial incentive in driving that narrative, the most aggressive, take no prisoners narrative. And I think what you're seeing and why, and now I'm going to plug News Nation and specifically my show On Balance, it's on every night at 8 p.m. St. Louis time, why we're now seeing double-digit ratings growth is because Americans want to come to a place that looks at the news not from left or right, but from right and wrong, right? Using your car to block ice and doing all the things Renee Good was doing, that is wrong. You're allowed to protest. You're not allowed to impede federal law enforcement. There's a difference. At the same time, we should all be able to acknowledge that it is a tragedy that she is dead, number one. And number two, that probably things can be learned from that, from law enforcement. That's not to say that the officer was not justified. That's not to say he is a murderer. But it is to say it's a tragedy that she's dead. And there's very few on cable news who can acknowledge both things.
Yeah, so our friend, my friend Tim Fitch, who used to be the St. Louis County Police Chief, he was a St. Louis County councilman as well,
Sure.
and he consults on.
Tim
calls it awful but lawful. You know, when things like this happen, and you know the thing that I think amazed me the most about some of the coverage coming out in the immediate aftermath of what happened to Renee Good was there was a complete unwillingness. Now, look, the other side has to ask questions to your point about law enforcement, what's proper and the procedure and the training and all this, but there was really no effort at all on the part of a lot of folks in the media to say, hey, what is a mom who just dropped off her kid at school, a 6-year-old, doing in the middle of a street blocking federal agents? Was that, that shouldn't have caused her death, but what the hell is she thinking? And that perspective really didn't get offered very, very much from my viewpoint.
No, these are very nuanced situations. And Twitter and talk radio and cable news and everything else distill them down to the hottest take. And I think part of the problem that we're seeing here, right, is that maybe the flip side is that it's a good thing, but we are now seeing, thanks to social media, the sausage being made, right? The reason that there is a change in the viewpoint of ICE and Trump's popularity when it comes to immigration and everything else is not because people's view of immigration has changed, right? When Trump was inaugurated a year ago today, more than 50% of Americans wanted every illegal immigrant deported, whether or not they committed a crime or not. You'd go up to if they committed a crime, it was up to 80%. Okay? That hasn't changed. What has changed is A, people seeing how it's done, and B, Democrats, anti-ICE protesters, whatever you want to call that, realizing that they can score political points by causing these problems.
Yeah, they see an opportunity and they're taking advantage of the opportunity. And I guess my concern would be that, the viewpoints of the American people on this, they're going to always evolve. They're going to consistently evolve. And I think, and this is where I don't want to be misunderstood. Look, there's a lot of people on the right or on my side that don't have any issues with this whatsoever. But you have to remember that when you're talking about an election, the midterms, the general presidential election, there's a lot of those folks that don't go and they don't vote any other time except for maybe those elections. And they don't follow the news as closely as the rest of us. And their views on this immigration issue could potentially change if they see something that's non-empathetic. It may not even be real. It's just the perception. The perception leads to the reality. So I see things happening, and I think some unforced errors on the part of the administration right now where they could be doing a better job of explaining to the American people who they're going after.
Well, who they're going after and why they have to go after them. And by the way, you saw that today with President Trump holding up the pictures of who ICE is going after. And when the president of the United States has to come to the podium, okay, to make the argument, it tells you that they've, number one, lost the messaging war, right? But number two, that they screwed up. Like the people under him, Kristi Noem, probably at the top, And the list goes down from there. Tom Homan, they lost the messaging war. They lost public opinion. What you do is before you launch a thing in Minneapolis, okay, you put out who we're going after, and you build this groundswell of public opinion that Tim Walz and Frey and everybody else in Minneapolis and Minnesota have let these wanted criminals go free. You build the anger about that, and then you go in. Right? I mean,
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
I'm giving
right?
political advice, but I'm giving the analysis of there's ways to do this, and they got on the wrong side of the messaging war, and now they're trying to get on the right side, and that is a common problem for the Trump administration.
What about here's another area where there could be better communication and messaging because the American people, some people just are losing their complete S over this. But the whole thing with Greenland, is that going to be something you cover, for example, on the show tonight? Because some people are losing their minds over that.
Yes, which covering extensively, Greenland is our lead story. This is what I think is most interesting about Greenland, which is that in Washington and among sort of the intelligent elite of America, and that includes Republicans and Democrats, NATO is a sacred cow. You can't talk about problems. You can't talk that it might need to be reformed. You can't talk about anything about NATO other than bow to the altar of NATO. And Donald Trump, I think, has exposed the fallacy of that or the folly of it. You've got all these politicians in the UK, and we'll show this tonight on the show, who are all talking tough. Don't F with NATO. Don't F with us. We're going to, this is the line in the Atlantic, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Go look at their militaries. The United Kingdom has 150 battle tanks in the whole army, many of which were built before I was born.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to Denmark, who, by the way, says Greenland's theirs, and they will die on the frozen tundra of Greenland. Well, that's nice, but you don't have any submarines to protect Greenland, which you need, not one. Let's go to France, where the field artillery of the French military would be called upon in any kind of war with Russia, any kind of ground war in Europe. The entire French military has 90 pieces of field artillery. It is laughable what has happened
doesn't seem ample.
to NATO.
Wow. Yeah, that's. But can Trump actually achieve something here and do it in a way where everyone doesn't lose their absolute crap over it?
Well, that I think is a different issue, and that more comes from how Trump does things. And there is a large part of the population that no matter what Trump does, they're going to find reasons to hate it because he's him. And then there's the other part, the persuadable middle, and I think that's where Trump is losing the messaging.
I think so too. And that's what
you've got the agriculture secretary on talking about how you can feed a member of your family 3 square meals a day plus snacks for $15 a day on the new food pyramid with steak and chicken and everything else. I want to go grocery shopping with this woman. The one thing that we learned from Joe Biden, the one thing Joe Biden taught all politicians and all the media, don't gaslight Americans.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of Americans who are feeling gaslit both on immigration because they're seeing pictures that make them uncomfortable and on prices.
I could not agree more, and that's why I have more concerns moving forward politically into the midterms. On Balance with Leland Vittert tonight, 8 p.m. We'll check it out. Thank you, Lucky. I appreciate it.
See you, buddy.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, it looks like we have some volume out there on southbound 55, but it's the usual. So that would be near Arsenal on down through about Bates before it opens up. And eastbound traffic on 44, we've got road work going on as you it's actually between Hampton and just past Kings Highway, a lane or two down, and that's caused a delay. But westbound is fine. Now, westbound 6440, that's a slow go. Kings Highway out through McCausland. Moderate volume approaching Lindbergh out through 270. And then things look better until you get to Highway N. Now, we do have southbound 270 with slow pockets, and right now it's Page down through just south of 44. And if you are headed into Illinois, we look good on the bridges downtown, but 44 westbound is slow right in front of the Arch grounds. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want to talk about Michael's Baths, and sometimes it's the little things that make a big difference. For example, if you're going to make a change in your bathroom, they're going to come in, Tony and the installers from Michael's Baths, they'll measure the most comfortable seat in your home so they know how high the seat in your new bath should be customized for you. So they're going to put the seat and the shelves close to the shower faucet so then it's easy to sit and reach everything you need. They just make sure that you're comfortable in everything they do. These are American-made products. They've been doing this for a long time, and all they do is baths. So if you're looking for either a modest bathroom remodel or if you want to go all the way, all they do is bathrooms at Michael's Baths. They'd love to at least give you a bid, and by the way, they come in 30 to 50% less than the competition on a regular basis with awesome reviews on Google. michaelsbaths.com. Tell them that we sent you over. Do us a favor, 636-775-0800, michaelsbaths.com.
2026 is an election year, and 97.1 FM Talk will be your home for every twist and turn in the 2026 midterms. 97.1 FM Talk. Keep it here for radio coverage that's 25 years strong.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IBW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
we called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
They came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We haven't not had our friend Scott Jennings on the air since maybe a couple of weeks before Christmas. He went uber viral again here in the last couple of days, Sue, because he's on his CNN panel, and there's a kid named Cameron Caskey who is 25 years old. Apparently, he was one of the survivors of the Parkland High School shooting. But they were talking about illegal aliens and illegals, and Cameron decided to tell Scott that he couldn't use the word illegal. And that didn't go very well for Cameron, I would argue.
I recognize you haven't reviewed all the material
anymore.
But
The diverse. The percentage.
Who are you to tell me what I can and can't? I've never met you, brother. Listen, I can say whatever I want.
It was kind of hard to hear, but I'll let you hear the beginning again, because that's when he says, you don't get to use the word illegals anymore. And, everyone's kind of talking over one another.
I recognize you haven't reviewed all the material
anymore.
But
The diverse. The percentage.
Who are you to tell me what I can and can't? I've never met you, brother. I can say whatever I want. They're illegal aliens, and that's what the law calls them, illegal aliens. That's what I'm going to call them.
Listen, You can't say illegals anymore because ICE is directly targeting legal citizens of this country. And how
are you going to enforce your edict on me, just out of curiosity?
Listen, I understand.
But just listen to his point about illegal.
No, I want to know why he gets to instruct
You're
my
changing the
state.
topic.
You got Jennings doesn't often get set off like that, but that set him off.
You're making a point about the people being arrested. I understand that your job is predicated on just getting increasingly more demented every single week, and that the audience comes back to see if perhaps
make your point.
My point is that you're saying the word illegals, but you don't even really know what's happening. Or actually, I think you do, and you're doing this on purpose. But
yes,
the truth
because
is,
I want the law enforced.
They are not just targeting illegal immigrants. They are targeting natural-born U.S. citizens.
They are not.
That is a fact. You
They are
cannot
not.
deny that. I mean, you can on national television.
They are
deny
not.
facts all the time.
They
You've
are
done it
not.
a couple times in this very episode.
I still want to know how you're going to enforce your language edicts on me.
We'll take that up.
How are we going to enforce it?
We're going to take that up.
Oh, that pissed him off. You can tell.
Yeah, it
right?
did.
Oh, my.
It did.
You know, the worst part of it, I think, is when the kid called him demented, and Jennings didn't really fire back at that. But I'll be very curious to see if that guy. Look, I think they like to keep things lively on there.
I guess.
And what happens is, and I can't remember who this was, but Scott will tell you the story of how some of this got rolling, on CNN. And there was one time, I can't remember who the guest was, but he was offset, right? And then they kind of pushed him out there to go on to a show with someone that he didn't agree with. And it was a bit of a surprise.
Oh.
And that's kind of how some of the, the battles kind of got rolling, is they realized that he would be good to kind of put up a fight on the conservative side
I see.
with other people.
But that's interesting.
But, I also think that he's got to be in a situation. I don't know this independently. I haven't spoken with him. But one of the things I'd ask him is, look, they're putting these people on this panel that you don't even know, that are 25 years old, and they're coming on and ganging up on you and calling. Not that he can't. He can certainly,
yes,
handle
but
himself.
spouting nonsense that has no basis.
Well, that's what I mean. So if I get off the show, I'm talking to the producer and say, hey, wait a second here. This guy is who? Nobody knows who he is. He's telling me what I can say, and he's calling me demented. Now, I get that you guys are trying to light a little fire for ratings, but that's not how we're going to play this game
come on.
moving forward. All right, we're going to take a break here at the top of the hour. When we come back, I will tell you my gumbo story. It was in part very successful and in part not very successful. You'll laugh at that story. We have Tuesday edition of Sue's News coming up. And then also Curtis Houck from Newsbusters will talk about some of the media bias. So some of the CBS reporters are very, very upset that Barry Weiss is seeking fair reporting. And there's some insider stuff going on there that's interesting. And then just the issue of fairness covering this story at the church in St. Paul, I think, is quite fascinating. We'll get to that. Our chief legal analyst, Brad Young, will be with us at 5:04. And then we started this a couple of weeks ago, and it's a lot of fun because he has so much to talk about. A couple of weeks ago, he was at the Consumer Electronics Show, but George Rosenthal will be here. We call it Tech Talk Tuesdays, and that's at 5:30.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch out for an accident. This one is reported southbound 55 before Imperial, Maine. Watch for that, blocking the right lane. There was an accident reported southbound Kings Highway near Manchester. We've got westbound 6440 really lined up. And this is Kings Highway in pockets out through 270. And then you get a break and look pretty good until you get to the 70 split. Now, 70 westbound is fine out of downtown. A little bit slow past the airport and at Wentzville. Southbound 270 slow pockets. It's Page down through Gravois, and then it opens up. Now, eastbound 44 starts to jam right around Kings Highway to a point east of there. That is all due to road work. We've got an accident reported in the depressed section in front of the Arch grounds. So 44 is slow there in both directions. And 55 is pretty slow south of Broadway down through Bates. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Need a new garage door? Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com. Deadline to enter is the end of the month. You can't win if you don't enter. Overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven. You can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted, it works, it's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
It's 2026. Time to get your home zero resified. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 plus a free hallway and 15% off regularly priced services when you mention 97.1 FM Talk. It's ZeroResSTL.com.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
And love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
We don't want you on our team. You're too slow and fat.
This is weight bias.
Don't you care how you look?
Those with the serious disease called obesity face weight bias every day.
You're not the right fit for this job.
And blame themselves.
I wish I was different.
Weight bias hurts.
Let's stop weight bias.
Be part of the solution.
Go to stopweightbias.com. A public service message from Obesity Action Coalition.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
The U.S. Attorney General arriving in Minneapolis. Lisa Brady, Fox News. As grand jury subpoenas were served on city, state, and county offices, including the governor and mayor's offices, in a federal probe of possible obstruction of law enforcement operations. City and state officials have called a surge of immigration agents and invasion.
Just around the time that the subpoenas, 6 of them in all, were being served today, Governor Tim Walz released a statement saying, quote, "The state of Minnesota will not be drawn into political theater. This Justice Department investigation, sparked by calls for accountability in the face of violence, chaos, and the killing of Renee Good, does not seek justice. It is a partisan distraction."
Fox's Jonathan Hunt in Minneapolis. The Justice Department's Civil Rights Division is investigating an anti-ICE protest that disrupted a church service Sunday in St. Paul. This as Twin City area police chiefs accuse some federal agents of violating civil rights and racial profiling after complaints they're stopping and demanding papers from Americans of color, including some off-duty cops.
If American citizens are being grabbed or stopped or seized, this can't happen.
St. Paul Police Chief Axel Henry. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino says enforcement operations are lawful and targeted.
They are about removing criminals who are actively harming Minneapolis neighborhoods.
The Minneapolis mayor accusing the federal government of playing politics. President Trump says if he puts tariffs on NATO allies that oppose a U.S. takeover of Greenland, he doubts it would end European trade deals with the U.S.
They need that agreement very badly with us. They really do. They fought very hard to get it. So I doubt that, but we'll see what happens. We have a lot of meetings scheduled on Greenland.
He's predicting things will work out as he joins other world leaders at a forum in Switzerland. America is listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Plenty of sunshine across St. Louis, but it stays cold. 36 for the high. Temperatures well below average. Tonight, some clouds around. Big deal tonight, windy. Much of the night, 32. On Wednesday, sunny, breezy, and 44. Thursday, sunny and 37. We have a shot of a light, dry snow. Late Friday night, Saturday night. Details fuzzy, but it's on the table. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Dave Murray talking about the possible snow. Sue, you were out of town over the weekend, but Saturday I was driving to play pickleball, and I'm on the inner belt, and I mean, it was probably 50 yards of visibility from snow that was kicking up. The roads were fine, but it was coming down. It only did that for a short time.
Yeah, same thing with me. I was over in Belleville, and it was right around noon. It was just really hard to see and scary, but it didn't last long.
Yeah, bizarre.
I think they called it a burst.
It seemed like a burst to me. Did you have a fine weekend in Houston, Sue Thomas?
It was awesome. I got to see my 3 great-nephews. And they're all adorable. And the one they call Winston, he's about 18 months. His actual name is Callahan. But he has kind of a Buddha belly. And he puts his hands behind. He clasps. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Fred.
Clasps his hands behind his back and strolls and kind of looks at that. He is hysterical.
How old is he?
About 18 months.
Oh, okay.
It's hilarious.
That's
and then
funny.
it was chilly down there. They put him in an old man sweater. These kids are highly entertaining. And I got to see my niece Sophie, who baked her gluten-free birthday cake.
How was your food down there?
Excellent, Fred. Man, they've got so many restaurants. And I did go to the one that Mark's son works
Squabble.
at this time. Squabble is so good.
Did you go this time?
No.
Oh, okay, but
we
last
went
time
to
you
a fancy other one, and it was quite good. But yeah, thank you.
Well, let's talk about food a little bit here. Let's talk about my goal for the weekend and whether or not I achieved and reached that goal. Now, I said here on Thursday on the program, my wife and my daughter were out of town. I knew I had some time to get some things done around the house, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a gumbo because I hadn't done that in a long time.
Love it.
So I wrote myself an email, Sue, and I sent it to myself so I would remember. And then I was off Friday, as were you. So I went out and I got my my stuff on Friday. And then Saturday morning, I think I had to go out and get a few more things at the grocery store. And after I played pickleball was when I was going to make the gumbo. So I get everything set, and I, the roux is the key part. So I found a recipe. Some of the recipes I was looking at seemed a little complicated. I like to dumb it down. So I found one that was relatively easy. But she even said in the directions, like, this is going to be like 30 to 40 minutes of stirring the roux. You got to get the roux right.
You can't let it burn.
No. So I have this little thing that Santa brought me. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is here. I even have some visual evidence. It's called the Cuisinart Fruit and Vegetable Box Chopper, manual food chopper with stainless steel blades, non-slip based, dishwasher safe.
Let me
see that right there?
Oh,
so
yeah. I wonder if those work.
So it's kind of like a push. You just pressure it, and you smash the vegetables in there, and then they come all sliced and diced. So I'd never used my Cuisinart Fruit and Vegetable Box Chopper before, and I'm looking at it. I mean, this is something that the 18-month-olds could probably figure out, but I can't figure out. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, how does this thing work? And I press my finger on the top of it, and it's like plastic. I'm like, well, how is that going to go? And then I touch my finger to the other part of the thing, and I'm just bleeding everywhere like a stuck pig.
Oh, no.
So right at the top of my finger, I'm like, that's where the blades are. So, I mean, you know the Julia Childs bit from SNL.
Right.
For a moment, it's like that. And I got the roux cooking, so I'm trying to figure out what the hell to do. So it's on the top of my finger, and I'm wrapping a paper, and all the paper towels have blood on it. I'm trying to wrap it, so I find a Band-Aid, but it's hard to put the Band-Aid on because
you're stirring the roux. You got your hand,
and it's at the top of your finger too.
Oh.
So I'm trying to put some pressure on, and let's go back to the chopping briefly. So I had all the chopping done on the chopping board.
Wait, did that thing work?
Oh yeah, it worked great.
I'll be darned.
It did work fantastic. So but this is where I got into trouble. So all the leftovers, the celery, anything that I wasn't using, right? What should I have done with that, Sue?
Well, don't
fed it to your bunny.
Oh,
that's actually not a bad idea. Good answer, Fred. I like that. Not the answer I was looking for.
Put it in the trash.
That would probably be a good idea. Do you think I did that?
No, you shoved it all down the disposal. Oh no!
So this is where I do these things, and I swear to God, I do it all the time. I like think to myself, no, I shouldn't do that because remember the last time that happened? The drain got all clogged up. But then I thought to myself, well, the last time I got the new, what do you call that thing? The disposal. I got the high horsepower one. And this thing is like a freaking supercharged, crazy disposal. So I shove everything into the disposal. I'm cooking the roux. I'm doing that. I'm bleeding everywhere. And I try to turn the disposal on, and it works to a certain extent. But then I notice all the water is bubbling up, and it's not draining. So now I got a problem, right? And it's Saturday afternoon. Football game's about to start, and I'm literally thinking to myself at this moment, I just screwed up my whole weekend. I just screwed up my whole weekend because now I'm going to have to call a stupid plumber, and it's the weekend, and it's going to cost me. So I turn to Phil Handyman.
Yes.
Phil is my handyman. I don't even know his last name. I call him Phil Handyman. I have him programmed into my phone as Phil Handyman. So Phil never really texts, even though I text him. So I text, and then he calls me right away. And I said, Phil, I did something pretty stupid. And he's the guy who installed the disposal, right? So he's like, well, I just got out of the shower. I'm like, look, and I'm like, dude, it's my fault. If you can't come till tomorrow, whenever, because I'm thinking if I call a plumber, the earliest it's going to be is probably Monday, and then Monday is the holiday, right?
I would agree.
So, well, I just got let me see what I can do here. 45 minutes later, he's walking into my garage and my door. He's like right over. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I told him what I did, and then he starts, there was some leaking underneath, and he starts taking the PVC apart. He starts lecturing me about how I shouldn't put ththings down the disposal, and I agree that I'm stupid and it's all my fault and all this. And he fixes it. And two things happen. Saved my weekend because, it would have just ruined my weekend. The gumbo was awesome. I nailed it.
You sent me a picture. It looked fantastic.
I did not burn the roux.
Yes.
But now, I asked Fred this question earlier. Maybe I didn't. I asked Tricia this question. So what would you pay? Like he literally was over in like 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
What would you pay for such service?
I don't $150.
Fred, what'd you pay for
I think
service?
that's about right.
Yeah. But a plumber would have charged you more than that, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. $253.
So I with Phil, I always get to this moment where it's like, all right, it's always a comfortable number. I mean, I always pay him more because he.
Well, of course.
So
he's Phil Handyman.
He says, well, $90. I'm like,
no,
that's ridiculous. So I said, I'm writing the check for $100, and here's $40 cash because I had $40 cash.
Nice.
And I told him, I'm like, and he's so nice and humble, and I'm like, Phil, I said, seriously, dude, you don't understand this. If I had to call a plumber, they wouldn't be here till tomorrow or Monday.
Yeah.
And then I don't have the sink to use the entire weekend. And it would have, how I obsess over these things.
Yes.
So I thought that was a bargain. But it did cost, the gumbo price went up a little bit based on Phil's.
Well, it did.
Yeah.
But so how did he save the day? Did he have to get all that gunk out of there?
Yeah. You know what? I probably could have done it myself with
Yeah.
a little patience and with YouTube because I've done something like this
I've done it
one
once.
previous time.
Yeah.
This all started years ago when my sister was over for Easter and she put all the potato peels down.
I've done that.
And I come back and it's Easter Sunday and my sister thinks I'm just going to lose my, you know what.
Jeez.
And for some reason, because of Jesus maybe, I didn't. And I knew that if I did something, JC was looking out for me. I knew that my sister would just crumble because she's an emotional wreck sometimes. So I stayed calm and I still don't. Again, Jesus was with me. And I figured it out, and I undid the PVC, and I got all the stuff out, and I put it back in. Right. Now, I did give some thought to that, and maybe had Phil not be able to come over so quickly, maybe I would have tried that, but I don't think it would have gone well.
And the roux.
Well, there was, yes, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one more round of gumbo to eat for dinner tonight because I had some on Saturday. on Sunday. Last night took a night off for the national championship. Had a little spaghetti that I'd made over the weekend. But I was so happy that I finally made gumbo that didn't suck for the first time in a while. So
I am
good.
impressed by you. Did you do rice? I dragged out the rice maker today, and I thought, I wonder if Mark had rice.
Oh, yeah. I got the rice maker. That's another one of those discoveries late in life. But
me too. And
that's a good thing.
They're not expensive, and they're great. I mean, you could spend a lot. But
there's so many
you don't
things.
Have to.
I've told you, honest to God, I've only had a rice cooker now for 4 years. And I feel like I deprived myself for, I would just do minute rice, and it's sucked.
Terrible.
And it just, So why, same thing like I told you that when I first got my first leaf blower, it's a little bit more recent than you might think, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it was until about maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Life changer, leaf blower. It's a life changer. You don't only use it for leaves. You use it for a lot of things. Blow stuff out of your garage. When the puppy busted all those potting soil bags open last week, I blew it away with the leaf blower. You have to have a leaf blower as a man. And as a woman. But as a man, you have to.
Really?
See, this is the thing.
I don't like the noise.
No, you're depriving yourself of a lot of joy with the leaf blower.
Okay.
I promise the audience will be with me on this. Sue's News coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, there was an accident down south on 55. So if you're traveling there near Imperial, Maine, it's now on the right shoulder, they're saying, but it's still a slow go. And it's also a slow go south of Arsenal through Bates. Southbound 270, slow pockets south of Page, down through Gravois. Southbound 170 is starting to slow at 64. And there's an accident reported northbound 170 just south of 270. Heavy traffic there. Now out west, 70 westbound, moderate volume at K and at Wentzville. 64 is slowing Highway N out through the 70 split. If you're headed into Illinois, we still look good on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
My best friend Jenny came over for coffee, said it's cold enough in here to play hockey. Well, my furnace broke and it's already late. Call Jerry Kelly because they're open till 8. JerryKelly.com. They're fast and they're good and they got it going on. Jerry Kelly.
All right, we got Sue's News coming up here. Curtis Houck from Newsbusters at the bottom of the hour. If you go to the NeilVighton.com website, this is a great multivitamin. The company is based here in the St. Louis area. If you get signed up on your email, you get 15% off your first order. So that's kind of a no-brainer. Now, I always point out that you can buy these Neil Vighton vitamins in stores. They make it easy for you. They even have a store locator up on the website at neilvighton.com. You put your you don't even put your address in, just your zip code. It'll guide you into the proper store. But you're going to spend more money that way. If you choose to do that, that's your choice. But if you go online to neilvighton.com, they have all your options right there on the website. The original formula, the Neil Vighton Women's 50+, the Men's 50+. They have the Women's formula with 50+ as well. So they have all kinds of options for you. On neilvighton.com, you buy in bulk, you get a subscription. That's going to save you a lot of money just to begin with. And you have rave reviews up on that website. So if you're looking at a multivitamin, you're going to make yourself feel better. It's going to help your daily nutrition. Check out Neil Vighton today at neilvighton.com and get signed up.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo, January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Get bonus golf balls and Pro Tour tickets while they last. Presented by Post Dispatch. Shop with Pro-Am Golf. Play Sinclair Lincoln's Long Putt powered by Evolve Putters. The Back 9 Crestwood Simulator. The Battlehawks Chip Shot. And sip drinks by Skimmers, Tito's, and Four Hands Cannabis at the Golf Expo, January 30th through February 1st in St. Charles. Thanks to Gateway Golf Cars, Booth Creek Wagyu, and Amateur Players Tour. Special tickets at stlgolfexpo.com.
Did you know replacing old vinyl windows with more vinyl windows might not be the best choice? Hi, it's Kim, and I'm here to tell you about Infinity from Marvin Windows because these fiberglass windows, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they're custom built to fit your home perfectly. The team at Lakeside Renovation and Design just makes the process so easy. I love the fact that they even offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Look, if you're tired of drafts, high energy bills, or maybe hard to open windows, now's the time to upgrade. Visit windowsbylakeside.com to schedule your free consultation today.
Setting goals for your retirement is one thing, but knowing how to achieve those goals is another. For tips on building a better nest egg, listen to the All Financial Hour with Steve All.
Let's sit down and talk about your questions, because I think that's the most important thing that it is out there. It's what questions do you have?
Saturday mornings at 6 or Saturday afternoon at 4, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is Corey from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. There's never a good time for your heating system to stop working. If yours does, no matter what time or day, Air Comfort Service offers 24/7 emergency HVAC service. Contact our award-winning team for 5-star heating service and stay in your comfort zone. For heating and 24/7 emergency service, contact Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation at aircomfortservice.com. That's aircomfortservice.com.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays he takes a little cream. Jennifer comes in every 3 years when her lease is up to get the newer and better model. And for some reason, pepperoni pizza sells like crazy on Friday nights. Who knew? At Odyssey, we have the expertise to get your media plan done right. With ads like you're hearing right now, to targeted social media campaigns, search engine optimization, and location-based advertising. Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
All right, after Sue's News here at 4:30, our friend Curtis Houck from Newsbusters at the Media Research Center is going to join us. You know, one of the questions I had relatively rhetorically earlier in the show was, how much media coverage did this thing in St. Paul at the church, get on CBS, ABC, NBC, et cetera? Apparently not much, and Curtis will highlight that when he joins us here in just a few minutes. It's a no-brainer story. I think people should be talking about it. It's very disappointing if that's really what happened, and I guess that is really what's happened, but we'll cover it with him coming up here at 4:30 on 97.1 FM Talk. Got to do this here on a Tuesday.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, when I was in Houston over the weekend visiting Winston, the child whose real name is Callahan, etc., I met my niece Sophie's boyfriend, and she had gone to school in the Netherlands at Delft. And he is now going to Rice. They're all getting advanced degrees. They're all smarter than we are. And that's fine. But apparently, it's a thing that guys in the Netherlands are tall. Did you know this? I had not heard this at all. So he's just this super tall guy, and when he looks down, it's just kind of entertaining. So I'll show you a picture of that, too. But part of what he brings when he comes back from the Netherlands is cheese.
Oh.
I said, what do you have over there? What's the Netherlands known for as far as food goes? And he said, not much, really. I guess bread and cheese. So he brought back some sort of Gouda. Oh,
really good.
Delicious. I bring this up because it's National Cheese Lovers Day and National Disc Jockey Day and Penguin Awareness Day. You must be aware of penguins, Fred.
It's a strange mix.
It really is.
I can celebrate one of those.
Yeah? Which one?
National DJ Day.
Oh, that's true.
That was my original role.
Mm-hmm.
I was a disc jockey. I played music on the radio, Sue. They used to do that. I don't know if you know that.
What? Oh, yeah. I'm still on a station that does that.
I was, 1 year, not too long ago, I was in Wisconsin on National Cheese Day. It's like a national holiday.
Up there, I bet.
Yeah, there are so many stores that sell cheese, like tons of cheese, and cheese stores that stand alone.
Yeah, right off the highway and everything.
Yeah, it's great.
Lots of tourist little traps.
Is it only curds, or they do the whole thing?
No, they do it all.
Okay. I like a cheese. All right, on this day in history, 45 years ago, it's 1981, and Ronald Reagan was sworn in as the 40th president of the United States. Minutes later, Iran released the 52 American hostages. I thought of this because we just talked to him.
We just had Rocky Sickman on last week.
On the other day. That they had held for 444 days. And 18 years ago, this kind of freaked me out that it was 18 years ago. It was in 2008 when Breaking Bad premiered on AMC.
Wow.
18 years, Mark.
Yeah, that's nuts.
What? Did you watch that show, Fred?
I didn't get through the whole thing. I just thought it was too brutal for me.
It is a little brutal. Starring Bryan Cranston, of course, as Walter White.
Marie loves it. She's seen it two or three times through.
So I was really late to the game on Breaking Bad.
Same.
And what I did was I took a trip to London. This would have been probably back in 2013 or 2014 for a movie junket. And I watched it on DVDs that my friend Andrew Mullins gave to me, like the first season on DVD, and I still had a computer that would play a DVD. And on the, it was a pretty long trip, and I was in a hotel room by myself, too. So I watched almost the entire first season on that trip, and then I was in. I was locked in for good after that.
I find it better to watch with someone because it stresses me out, Fred, because it's so intense just like that. I have to watch it with somebody. That's, of course, what made Aaron Paul, and it ran for 5 seasons. And it launched Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul. You say you like that one better.
I've watched both series totally twice, incomplete, and I like Better Call Saul better, I think. I mean, that's a subjective thing.
You love Bob Odenkirk, too, don't you?
Great.
He's great.
Oh, he's awesome. All right, I had not known this, but NBC is rebooting The Rockford Files.
What?
Oh.
Why?
I missed that.
It's so good. The original ran from 1974 to 1980 with our beloved James Garner. A new pilot has been ordered. Here is the official description. A contemporary update on the classic series of the same name. Newly paroled after doing time for a crime he didn't commit, James Rockford returns to his life as a private investigator using his charm and wit to solve cases around L.A. It doesn't take long for his quest for legitimacy to land him squarely in the crosshairs of both local police and organized crime. There you. Does he live?
Who's going to star in this?
Yeah, that's what I mean. No mention of that. And is he going to live in that trailer house on the beach? Don't know.
So I don't know if you guys remember this, but I did go on a bit of a Rockford Files bender several years ago, and it held up. It really did hold up very, very well.
Oh. All right, now this story is interesting. It does have some sound here in a minute, but it's a TikTok musician who goes by the name of Empty Heaven, and he's going viral for a song he wrote about his wife's resume. She's a lawyer looking for work in Chicago, and so he wrote a song about it, and people are actually calling. Here it is.
Somebody hire my wife. My wife is an attorney. She's a lot smarter than me. She's looking for legal work in Chicago or remote. At legal writing, she's the GOAT. Let me tell you her experience. She's on appeals vehicular.
It's not
Is
the
that
most
hilarious?
complex, either lyrically or musically, is it? But
if you hire her, she'll be a great addition to your crew. Somebody hire my wife.
this is getting a lot of attention. It's not.
Yes.
It's not the most, intriguing viral video, but
listen,
She's
it
got
worked.
a real great mindset. She's the light of my life.
But doesn't that kind of takes?
Yes.
Anyone can do that, right? Okay.
Of course.
But how does it take off? Right. It takes somebody
Exactly.
to press like or retweet or whatever
Yes.
might happen with something like that, so it goes off into takes on a life of its own. But that's interesting.
Well, he said that he's already gotten calls and emails about it, and she has started interviewing from that. It's pretty impressive.
I thought it was pretty clever.
Uh-huh. It kind of got my head up this morning. Somebody hire my wife. I can't get it out. But I have nothing to offer this woman. I have no
Nor do
legal
I.
anything.
And I guess I'm a little troubled that it takes that to get a gig if you're an attorney.
Boy,
yeah,
no
you've got
kidding.
Brad Young as your attorney
Right.
there, right?
Well, in the follow-up, he's got his wife sitting in the background, so at least you see her. It's kind of funny. Poison's 40th anniversary tour is reportedly off. I know we're all very upset about this. Because Bret Michaels wanted to make 600% more than the other people in the band. 600%.
Well, that's because he weighs 600% more than anyone else in the band.
Does he still?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Last time I checked.
Well, drummer Ricky Rocket says, quote, you just can't work that way. We're not going to do that. So that whole thing is completely off. All right, 9 new emojis are set to hit phones and keyboards in the next year or so, but the list is not set in stone, and one of them might still change. Okay, I did not know this. There is a nonprofit called Unicorn Consortium, and it decides which emojis to add. And they quietly posted a list of 9 new ones late last year. Have you ever heard of that? And why would they get to pick it?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, why are they the arbiters of emojis?
I have
right?
no idea. But they've got another meeting this week, and it looks like just one of them might get replaced. They've got a face with squinting eyes that was on the list, but it might get knocked out by cracking face emoji that looks like shattered glass. Squinting eyes, they say is the same as using the monocle, the smiley face with the monocle. And they say that's otherwise it's too similar. Cracking just means you've had too much, the pressure is too much, and you're cracking face. The other ones are left thumb, right thumb, monarch butterfly, butterfly net, lighthouse, eraser, and pickle. And one that looks like a world-ending asteroid.
Okay, so this is like fascinating. Now I want to find out more about the group that does this, right?
Yeah, I totally get that. I don't know why. I had never heard of that ever. I kind of
track
like
them
this.
down, Fred.
Yeah, Fred, see what you
find
can
out
do.
the emoji,
About
the emoji
the
judges.
consortium, Unicode Consortium. Did I say unicorn when I first
You said
it?
unicorn.
Yeah,
You did
it's
because
Unicode.
you know what's funny about that is because
Sorry
when I heard
about
you
that,
say
people.
that, I thought it was something because they were going to say copyright infringement from the unicorn emoji.
Susan News cannot read.
Okay, that's okay.
Chris Stapleton recently sat down with Dax Shepard on his Armchair Expert podcast, and it was interesting because he had some serious praise for Taylor Swift, and he talked about collaborating with her during COVID and how impressed he was after he took his kids to the Eras tour. And Chris said it was awesome. This is Chris Stapleton. He's like, listen, it was awesome. It was crazy. Every song was the production budget of most people's entire show, mine included.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And he said it's an insane amount of work and energy. Only a handful of people can pull that off, and she's one of them. And she said, well, I run 3 miles on a treadmill while singing to prepare for something like that. He said, I am never getting on a treadmill. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. Key limes were considered a weed in Florida until the Great Freeze of 1894 destroyed all the lemon groves. Farmers replaced Mexican limes instead, and they became known as Florida key limes, a beloved regional crop that was originally
Look at
a
that.
weed.
That gives you your Sue's News PhD today.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. President Trump has threatened to impose 200% tariffs on French wines and champagne after French President Emmanuel Macron reported to be unwilling to join his board of peace on Gaza. Trump also reiterated his plans to control Greenland, saying that European leaders won't push back too much. Gasoline prices rose last week for the first time in 7 weeks. According to Gas Buddy, the average price for a gallon of regular unleaded went up 3 cents to $2.76 a gallon. Oklahoma had the lowest average at $2.29. Hawaii and California are the only two states with an average above $4 a gallon. Stocks were sharply lower. Dow Industrial average off 871 points today, ending the session at 48,488. The Nasdaq lost 561, and the S&P 500 down 143. Crypto prices sharply lower as well. Bitcoin fell below 90,000. Ethereum down 7%. That's Your Money Now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
Most of us have spent a long time saving for retirement, hopefully decades. And the closer you get to that, you think, okay, this is good, right? Is this enough? Do you know how to turn those savings into lasting income? That is a huge deal. That is the entire point of retirement. That money has to last you for your entire life. And that is where the experts come in, and financial and tax architects are just so great. And they help people across St. Louis work to protect those savings. But they do that by teaching you how things work. They have a Retirement Planning 101 class. It's one night. It's 2.5 hours. They do it for free. But it's going to give you an idea on how they work as well as a company, because they can sit down with you, look at everything you've got, and come up with a customized retirement plan for you specifically. Start with the class, though. You have to register, even though it's free. Go to FTA-RIA.com, FTA-RIA.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Festus to Freeburg, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, we were off for the holidays, so we didn't touch this story yesterday, but I'm still kind of amazed. The church in St. Paul gets taken over by protesters.
You can see all these pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters.
Well, that was kind of the narrative. And then there's the Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison. It's all fine if you bust into a church worship service.
Protest is fundamental to American society. This country started in a protest. And, it's freedom of expression. People have a right to lift up their voices and make their peace. And none of us are immune from the voice of the public. So quite honestly, I think that you got the First Amendment, freedom of religion, and the First Amendment, freedom of expression. And I think that, it's just something that you got to live with.
Oh, my. That guy is such a bozo. Curtis Houck is back with us, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. I mean, I knew that he was an idiot before all this happened, but for the Attorney General of that state to defend what went on at that service is outrageous, Curtis Houck.
Well, I'm not entirely surprised, Mark. I mean, yes, he would apply the FACE Act to conservatives outside abortion clinics, but when it comes to churches, this is what we saw last night. I mean, both liberal journalists and elected officials supporting what was going on. You had Adelita Gravala from Arizona go on CNN, the Caitlin Collins show, Phil and Jim Sciutto, and she basically said it was about time they got a taste of their own medicine, that these ICE agents and people who support ICE, it's about time they were terrorized too. And this is the argument that Don Lemon was making, which is a complete logical fallacy, which is, it's worth making you uncomfortable and harassing your kids because, your kids were traumatized by it, but they're not dead.
Yeah,
they're jumping to this huge logical extreme.
Let's kind of take a step back here because the whole Don Lemon angle of this needs to be under a microscope a little because he's all part of this entire stunt, right? He walks in through, he's working with this group, and then he goes on his podcast and then someone else's podcast yesterday to talk about this, and that's one of the reasons he's kind of a little bit of the focus here, correct?
Correct. Yeah, he is. That's why he is toast in this situation. He claims, he went on the Jennifer Welch podcast, unfortunately, and insisted that he didn't know that this is what they were going to do beforehand, even though there's video from his 7-hour live stream from Sunday. He brought Starbucks coffee in the to-go tubs for people, and he was shaking hands and blowing side kisses to the people there. So, I mean, yeah, if you're a whole bunch of protesters show up at a church parking lot, I mean, I think you can kind of put two and two together about what's going to happen.
So one of the questions I had at the beginning of the show today, and it was somewhat rhetorical, and you're the guy to answer it, was just because I didn't have really a sense, and it's hard to get a sense, Curtis, of how much a story is being covered. So I was off for the weekend. I was off yesterday for the holiday. I started poking around yesterday, looking at the New York Times and the Washington Post. I didn't see that highlighted as front and center as I expected it. So what did again, this is where it gets rhetorical, what did most of the legacy media in broadcast do with this particular story? For example, did CBS, did ABC, did MS Now, or whatever the hell they're called, did they cover that story?
Yeah, so the answer to that one is some of them, yes, right away. But by, let's take Monday morning, for example, only NBC had it mentioned. CNN and MS Now were covering it, but in the context of, scoffing at it, saying, this is what the DOJ is going to get off the schneid and investigate, as if to suggest that, there's nothing there to it. And again, jumping to this logical extreme where they're like, Renee Good is dead, but this is what gets them really upset, which again is not true at all. The vice president displayed immense sadness and contrition about what happened to Renee Good when he appeared in the White House briefing room. But that doesn't matter to these folks at all. But now you're seeing the other networks cover it. ABC, CBS, NBC, they're all joining in now. They're mentioning it is just a thing that happened, Mark. There's not really expressed judgment about it. And I think that's where it's frustrating. There's been, I think on one of the networks last night, 3 times as much about claims of ICE malfeasance, or people claiming that they're citizens, or people claiming that they don't have criminal records being hauled out of their homes. And oh my gosh, a battering ram was used at a house one time last week. Then pointing out how ridiculous this was and how insane it was. And other than maybe News Nation, nowhere outside of conservative media was bringing up the fact that Don Lemon was part of this whatsoever. And I think that is a huge issue.
Absolutely. He made himself, he tried to inject himself into the story. He became part of the story. So you need to report on that. Now let's kind of shift into Barry Weiss territory here, because we've been kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with some of the news products, if you will. 60 Minutes first and foremost, because they've certainly come to St. Louis and done ridiculous journalistic malpractice stories. They covered the ICE story last week. Your reporting on this is not much has changed at CBS, Curtis.
Correct, exactly. I mean, the CCOT story did air. We should mention that about 60 Minutes. So I guess CBS News and the First Amendment aren't dead?
So that was the one that was held up from last month about the El Salvadoran jail, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
It did air this past Sunday, but of course they're horrified that, no, they didn't put it on after NFL games when a lot more people are watching. They put it on while over on NBC there was the Rams-Bears game.
Right, yeah.
Okay, right. Whatever. I don't care. So they also had a really biased segment about Minneapolis, kind of painting Chief O'Hara as this hero. They queued up the video of the woman claiming she was disabled, being attacked by ICE, and the guy got all teary-eyed and he was shaking and everything like that. Bill D'Agostino now has a study looking out at just the evening shows, so that would include the CBS Evening News, and he found that the CBS Evening News has been 96% negative, which actually is worse than ABC or NBC. And CBS has never explicitly admitted that Nicole Good hit Jonathan Ross with her car, and whereas the other two only once each. I mean, last Friday you had a correspondent there, Lana Zach, say, it's still not clear, that's a direct quote, it's still not clear if Good actually hit her with or hit him with her car. And also you had a correspondent, Nicole Scango, once refer to what happened as a murder. Fortunately, by the West Coast version, they cleaned that up.
Yep.
By the early morning segment, it wasn't there, and she had been working probably a week straight at that point. So I'm not going to suggest there was really anything else going on, but it was just interesting that her last report had that huge boo-boo. Then she got some time off. So I will just say that all told, yeah, not a lot has changed, but I will say the fraud in Minnesota is good. I have a story about that at Newsbusters. They got a jailhouse interview with the Feeding Our Future lady. DeCopel has been kind of hitting the right notes. He had some good questions to the mayor of Minneapolis when he was there a few weeks ago, and they've just pissed off the right people, I think. That's what I think is the best part in all of this.
You have to wonder, like, I don't know if you have any sources, but I'm most certain that inside the CBS News division, the majority of people do not like what Barry is going to try to do or attempt to do and work against her. And some of this might get somewhat public, depending on what reporters decide to do what. But there's no support for Barry Weiss in CBS News for what she's doing, besides maybe Tony DeCopel, is there?
Well, I can say that there are some people inside the network that I have spoken to.
Good.
That there are some. It is just definitely an uphill battle, and it's been a years-long battle. But they just now feel like that there's someone who's going to give them a shot. But instead what's happening, we saw this with Chris Licht at CNN. Instead of thinking, okay, so you don't like the boss, there's all these other networks out there where you can do similar work. How about I go there? No. What they're doing is they're saying, no, we're the inmates. We're still running the asylum, so we're going to leak like crazy to all sorts of media reporters and try to create, a self-fulfilling prophecy, trying to create a feedback loop that everything Barry does is bad. You have a variety story out there saying 10 sources saying CBS News is, quote, veering towards dysfunction. Oh, my gosh.
Well, that's where they've been for the past 2 decades. Yeah, I mean,
it can only be fixed if producers and reporters challenge Weiss more regularly. And they got a Yale guy to say that CBS News could be in a death spiral because, Barry Weiss is making people upset. The New Yorker had a nearly 10,000 word story come out yesterday, which actually makes her quite good. Basically starts from birth and goes all the way up to the present. Again, it points out she's a liberal, but she's kind of, I think Bill Maher is kind of an more apt description for way for folks to kind of think about her, because the New Yorker story suggests that she's been very upset and kind of unnerved by a lot of the things the president and ICE have been doing in Minnesota. But the point is she's willing to hear from different perspectives, and that she's kind of leaning into, I guess, maybe the free press going forward, that CBS News 24/7, the stream platform, may actually air free press products. That's when the news story's out today. So I'm hopeful about it. And again, as you and I have said before, it makes you think.
Yeah.
It makes you think. And I really enjoy that. Olivia Reingold, Gabe Kaminsky, they have some really good people over there that I just want to see more of on air.
Well, there's an amazing story. I'm going to probably try to get to it in the next hour that is up on the Free Press right now about, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it's about the guy that wrote the show 13 Reasons Why or whatever. My iPad is hanging up on me right now, or I would be able to tell you this more specifically.
Yes, that is.
But it was incredible reporting because this guy kind of got caught up in all the Me Too movement stuff, and he wasn't someone who abused women, but he did have an affair. He had actually multiple affairs, but the dude's basically living in his mom and dad's basement right now. His name is Jay Asher, and his life got blown up by an anonymous comment. And I read that story today. It took me probably 20 minutes to read. Kat Rosenfield is her name, her story, but it was really, really good journalism.
Phenomenal.
And intriguing. Yeah, I mean, they get into stories sometimes that you don't see. You don't even see this reporting at the New York Times or the Washington Post. And I will admit that sometimes the reporting at the New York Times or the Washington Post is relatively good on some topics.
Right. I'm so glad you brought that story up, Mark, because the quick point I wanted to make about that was I saw the headline, it's the 13 Reasons Why guy, and I was like, oh, my gosh, I hate that guy just because of kind of the glorification, I guess, of suicide and all those kinds of implications. But then I actually read it, and then my perception of him was completely changed, and it required, oh my gosh, Mark, nuance.
Yes.
That's something that's completely missing. And I think that's the other emphasis of Barry Weiss, creating nuance. People are enraged that DeCopel said after he was in Minneapolis that, there's people that are upset about this with Renee Good, but we have to acknowledge that there are a lot of Americans who support what's going on. They want to see the immigration laws enforced in this country. And the mere mention of this, the mere presentation that there's gray in our world is just unforgivable.
Yeah, I know. It's quite something, and I so root for Barry to make some changes over there, but I still think there's going to be more and more times where, it's simply not going to happen. I don't know. Keep our fingers crossed. But that reporting in the Free Press, I'm going to cover it a little bit more in the next hour. Is really, really good. All right, Curtis Houck, always great to have you on. Thank you so much. Have a great week. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Talk soon, my friend.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've We've got an accident reported westbound 70 past Bryan Road. Watch for that on the right side. Road work causing delays eastbound 44 from Hampton to Grand. They've got the 2 left lanes blocked until 6 p.m. Accident northbound 170 approaching 70. Actually they've got the left lane down in both directions. And if you're leaving downtown, westbound 40 lines up approaching Kings Highway out past McCausland, then from Winghaven out through the 70 split. And that accident past Bryan Road on the right side has caused a delay back past Highway K. It's really jammed out there. 55 slowing headed down toward Bates, and 270 southbound, mainly moderate volume, but that's approaching Olive down through Gravois. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Need a new garage door? Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com. Deadline to enter is the end of the month. You can't win if you don't enter. overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, we started something a couple of Tuesdays ago called Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet. And we're going to do this every other Tuesday. We can do it on consecutive Tuesdays should the topics, come about. And I think they will, because George is really amazing. But let me tell you about his company, ThrottleNet, because they're going to offer you as a business owner a free baseline IT security audit designed to give you a starting point within minutes. Because, look, it's confusing, right? This is going to give you a simple risk score and show you where you're strong and where you're not, where gaps exist. It's a very easy, practical way to understand your real-world risk without guesswork, and ThrottleNet is going to do that for you for free. And then you're going to hire them because they're going to help you improve your cybersecurity. And you can't improve your cybersecurity if you don't know your baseline. So if you go to throttlenet.com/971, it's a free baseline IT security audit. Again, throttlenet.com/971. It's a simple way to get clarity on your cybersecurity risk, and the risks are out there. And George will join us a little after 5:30 for Tech Talk Tuesday.
Are you a local nonprofit making a difference? Want help spreading the word? We want to hear from you. 97.1 FM Talk in Action highlights the great work being done in our community. Share your mission at 971talk.com/talkinaction.
Hey, celebrate the new year with our friends from Zero Res. Carpet, tiles, upholstery, hard surfaces, basically everything in your home can be Zero Resified. So it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Res. Bring in the new year with 3 rooms of carpet cleaned at just $119, plus a free hallway and 15% off regularly priced services when you mention 97.1 FM Talk. 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You know, there's a certain way we do things around here, the Grasser way.
The Grasser way?
We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. Not on the little stuff and not on the big stuff.
We do the big stuff.
That's right. Whole home generators that kick on the moment the grid gives up. Lights stay on, heat stays on, your family stays safe, so your house stays warm.
And your ice cream stays frozen.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings, up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis Conservative.
All right, our friend Brad Young, after the top of the hour, our chief legal analyst. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, including what happened at that Minneapolis church and some things related to the Supreme Court. And then I mentioned George Rosenthal, Tech Talk Tuesdays. So I did not hear this. Ethan, my outstanding producer, brought this to my attention because about an hour ago I played a little audio where Scott Jennings whooped up on this kid named Cameron Kasky, who is just 25 years old. I guess he was a survivor from the Parkland shooting, and somehow he ended up on the panel on CNN, and this happened.
I recognize you haven't reviewed all the material
anymore.
But the percentage. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't? I've never met you, brother.
So he said you can't use the word illegals, and that did not sit well with Jennings. But then this happened, and Ethan brought this to my attention. I missed this. This is also on the same panel, and this Cameron Kasky kid dropped something about Trump and the Epstein files, which I think Scott justifiably finds kind of outrageous. And I think it's John Berman that's filling in. Usually it's Abby Phillip who's the host. If I recognize the voice correctly, I think it's John Berman filling in, and then he has to kind of interject here. But here's what it sounded like.
Initiative that the president is being transparent about this. I would love it if he was more transparent about the human sex trafficking network that he was a part of, but you can't win them all.
Cameron's grateful that the president is being transparent about the Nobel Peace Prize and his desires for Greenland. Scott, what do you think about that?
You going to let that sit? Are we going to claim here on CNN that the president is part of a global sex trafficking ring, or?
Well,
I mean,
we're going to talk about the Epstein files. Scott, I will do the fact checking as we go along here. Repeat what you said about the global sex trafficking ring.
That Donald Trump was provably very involved with it.
Okay, we'll get to that later. I mean, Donald Trump has never been charged with any crimes in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. But
let's be adults here.
We'll talk about Epstein
Let's be
files
serious.
Later. Satisfied?
If I'm Jennings, I'm pissed off in a couple of different ways. One, the kid was just allowed to say that. Then Berman, I think it's John Berman. I might be wrong about that. I'm just kind of doing this by voices. Usually it's Abby Phillip. He says basically, he smacks him and says, I'll do the fact checking. And then he asks the kid to repeat what he said, which was blatantly false. Right? And he doubles down on it, and then Berman's like, oh, yeah, well, you know what? There's no proof of that. That is unbelievable. But that gives you really a clean glimpse into how, even when you have a conservative panelist who's trying to take up a different perspective or offer a different perspective or a different side or look at some things through a different lens, I mean, the panel is so outweighed in the other side's favor. Even when something like that happens, they're not willing to admit it. That really is quite something. And I didn't see. Did you see 60 Minutes last night, Sue?
I did not.
Okay, I want to kind of go back just because now I'm curious about what Curtis said and the way they covered some of this stuff with ICE. Having said that, and I'm going to express this a little bit in the next hour, I think the administration is in very tricky waters here on this immigration stuff because I think this is, Trump held a news conference earlier this afternoon. This is a year now since he's been inaugurated. We sat here so many days watching Bill Melugin interview lines of people, whether they were from Africa, Chinese nationals, or from South America, streaming across the border. It was outrageous. And the country knew it was outrageous. And that's why for the main reason that Trump was elected, outside of the fact that Kamala was an idiot. I'm not saying go easy on these migrants who are criminals at all. But what I see is a narrative that's shifting right now. And you're always going to be disadvantaged because the legacy media is going to always look for the guy that was dragged out of his house in his underwear and he was an American citizen and he shouldn't have been dragged out of his house. And it was an accident. And sure, ICE is going to do that, right? But those narratives are the ones that are going to take shape. And you might have heard Curtis refer to Barry Weiss because I think, well, we were talking about Barry Weiss, but what I mean is he referred to Barry as being uncomfortable with what's going on in Minneapolis. And I think there's more uncomfortability that is growing amongst independent voters and then some people that might be, leaning to the right as well. I want to get the illegal migrants out, and I'm fine with deporting anyone. I really am. But what I'm more curious about or more interested in is making sure that our country doesn't fall apart at the hands of the Democrats who will smoke and roll over the Republicans if they're not careful on some of these issues right now. And I don't think they're being as careful as they should be because perception is the reality. There's a lot of people out there that think that ICE, it's not true, that they're just asking people and pulling people over for papers. But an incident here and an incident there is going to make for a lot of media coverage and turn a lot of voters.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
The accident on westbound 70. Now, this thing was past Bryan Road. It's been blocking the right side. Right lane and right shoulder blocked. It has really created a jam behind it, and it's back past Highway K. The accident on the Interbound, they were saying that it's It's blocking the left lane in both directions. So if you're northbound, it's just south of 270, and it's really caused a delay there. We also have volume on eastbound 44, and that's all due to road work. They're blocking the two left lanes between Hampton and Grand until 6 tonight. Now, westbound 70 slowing past the airport and also at 141 before it hits the big jam due to the Bryan Road accident. And westbound 6440, it's Kings Highway out through McCausland, a little bit of 270. And out west, just moderate volume, so that's better than 70. Southbound 270, slow pockets Olive down through Gravois, and 55 slows at Bates. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want you to get up on the website from Michael's Flooring Outlet, igotfloored.com, and then click on the tab that says Inspiration. You'll see promos, products, services, reviews, financing, inspiration. Under Inspiration, you can do a couple of different things. You can visualize your room, so you can upload a picture and then match it up with some of the great products they have at Michael's Flooring Outlet, or you can view the galleries. And the galleries are really amazing. They have a carpet gallery, they have a hardwood gallery, they have a laminate gallery, a tile gallery, a luxury vinyl gallery, a vinyl gallery, a stone gallery, and a glass tile gallery. So which direction do you head? Well, first you got to decide if you want soft flooring or hard flooring, but the options really are unlimited. And the expertise level that they have at Michael's Flooring Outlet is also unparalleled here in the St. Louis area. So if you're thinking about reimagining a space in your house, you want new flooring, go with the experts at 3 great locations. They're open today. They'll be closed next Sunday in Old Town St. Peters, in Jardine Prairie, and in West County on Olive. And the website has everything you can ever want. Click on that Inspiration tab. igotfloor.com, Michael's Flooring Outlet.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
The Justice Department v. Minnesota. I'm Tom Graham, Fox News. Several Minnesota leaders have strongly condemned the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration, demanding ICE leave the state. Today, subpoenas have been served during an investigation into alleged obstruction.
The Department of Justice has served grand jury subpoenas to 6 Minnesota Democrat-controlled government offices, including the offices of Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, as part of a federal investigation into alleged conspiracy to coerce or obstruct federal law enforcement during ongoing ICE operations in Minnesota. We're told the FBI served the subpoenas seeking records and communications. Governor Walz in a statement saying in part that the federal government should be directed towards restoring trust, accountability, and real law and order, and not political retaliation. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
President Trump heading to Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum as tensions rise with several European leaders over his calls to annex Greenland. The president also organizing the so-called Board of Peace.
2 more nations say they're signing up to President Donald Trump's proposed new international organization. The United Arab Emirates says it's ready to contribute actively to the Board of Peace, while Belarus, which supports Russia's war on Ukraine, has also accepted an invitation. Norway, home of the Nobel Peace Prize, says it won't take part based on how things are currently presented. Members will serve a 3-year term unless they pay $1 billion for a permanent seat. The Board of Peace will initially focus on Gaza before turning to other conflicts. Fox News understands dozens of nations have been invited. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Stocks taking a plunge today. The Dow falling at nearly 871 points. The S&P giving up 143, while the Nasdaq plummeted 561. America's listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Plenty of sunshine across St. Louis, but it stays cold. 36 for the high. Temperatures well below average. Tonight, some clouds around. Big deal tonight, windy. Much of the night, 32. On Wednesday, sunny, breezy, and 44. Thursday, sunny and 37. We have a shot of a light, dry snow. Late Friday night, Saturday night. Details fuzzy, but it's on the table. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
We started something a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to do it every other Tuesday. We might do it every Tuesday if it calls for it. There's no rules, but we call it Tech Talk Tuesdays with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet. And when we did this a couple of weeks ago, we actually did it 2 days in a row. Some of you might remember that because George was in Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show, just dazzling us with all kinds of details of some of the things that he was seeing out there. So he's been back in St. Louis for a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about some of the things related to AI and Google Gemini to power Siri. Some of the stuff, I just have no idea what it's about, but that's why we depend on George. And he'll be here a little after 5:30. Brad Young is back with us tonight, 97.1 FM Talk, Chief Legal Analyst, partner with Harris, Young, and Kaiser. Hello, Brad. How are you?
Mark, I'm doing great, sir. Thank you.
I don't think I've seen you since we went to that terrible Mizzou, Illinois basketball game about a month ago, which was just a disaster. And the team has been okay since then, but then they lost over the weekend again to LSU. So I think this is just going to be one of those years, Brad, unfortunately.
Yeah, up and down. But, you know, I'd successfully pushed that event out of my mind until you just brought it up again.
Well, and it was crazy because we were so excited about going, and it's a great event here right before Christmas in St. Louis, but it was a big bummer, unfortunately, that night. Now, one thing I haven't shared with you, because you're not only the chief legal analyst for the radio station, but you're my chief legal advisor. I didn't tell you about my my speeding ticket from a couple of weeks ago, and I had a question to ask you. No, so look, Brad, I've only had maybe 4, but I think only 3 speeding tickets in my entire life, right? And ironically, the last one I got was when I was taking my son, Evan, who's now almost 29, to get his driver's license permit, and I got pulled over. So that was kind of a fun story. But I was on a Saturday going to play pickleball, and all of a sudden I got lights behind me. And here's the case that I'm going to make to you, because I'm going to need some help here, and I'm thinking this is going to be a civil rights issue, and we may have to take it to the Supreme Court. I got a cop on a Saturday morning that's bored. He sees a white dude in a fancy car. He pulls him over. I got a case, don't I? That seems like a clear civil rights case to me, Brad. You think on that one just a little bit.
I will.
And get back
Let me
to
see
me.
if I can come up with something on that.
I did get a ticket, though, and we will have to talk. All right, let's talk about what happened over the weekend. Now, this is interesting, this FACE Act. Let me play you something with Don Lemon, who is an agitator, Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, who thinks it's okay to go into a church in St. Paul and just disrupt the service.
The FACE Act, by the way, is designed to protect the rights of people seeking their reproductive rights so that people, for a religious reason, cannot just use religion to break into women's reproductive health centers, right? So how they are stretching either of these laws to apply to people who protested in a church over the behavior or the perceived behavior of a religious leader is beyond me.
Yeah, well, you would think that Keith Ellison, being the Attorney General of Minnesota, would understand the FACE Act. He did get it half right there, didn't he?
The FACE Act, on its face, sorry to say that, it stands for Freedom to Access to Clinic Entrances Act. But in the act itself, it specifically protects access to places of religious worship,
right,
in addition to abortion clinics. So, Ellison needs to go back and read the statute because it covers this exact situation that we've all seen. The video is clear. You can't go in and tell us what we did not see when we watch the video itself. And I think Don Lemon, he's going to try to hide behind this veil of being a journalist. But the reality is, published reports have indicated that he was not only involved in the planning of this event, but he participated in the event. And listen, if you are a participator, you are not a journalist. A journalist is an observer, not a participator.
Well, he's a joke anyway. But let's go to Keith Ellison. Look, this is unreal to me that this is even a question about whether this is appropriate. I don't care what your politics are, to in any way, shape, or form advocate or make it known to your constituents that it's okay to go in on a Sunday morning and just start shouting at the pastor or the people in the church. I mean, if we offered this a little earlier, Brad, and you know this, if this was a Southern Baptist church, if this was I would say a synagogue, but they'd probably get the same treatment, unfortunately, because of all the anti-Semitism, you'd have a much different reaction. You have news networks out there and publications that are almost not even willing to cover that story, which is shocking.
It is. And here's what I would make it even more pointed. Keith Ellison is a Muslim.
Yeah.
So if this happened at a mosque, what would his reaction be? Exact same facts.
It'd be a hate crime.
People marching in and protesting. What would he say about that?
It would be a hate crime, and they would be trying to prosecute people right now.
It would.
There's no doubt about that. Absolutely. Let me kind of broaden this into what happened a couple of weeks ago with Renee Good and maybe what's happened since then, Brad. And I want to play you a piece of audio because I've admitted this a couple of times this afternoon. I'm growing increasingly more uncomfortable with some of the things that ICE is doing in Minneapolis and elsewhere. Now, I want to make it clear. It's not because I disagree with kicking out criminals or people who aren't supposed to be here legally, but I'm very concerned about the country right now. And if the country gets handed over to the Democrats, we're in big trouble. And there are enough narratives that are emerging from Minneapolis and elsewhere that are getting some people's heads to turn. And let me offer this as an example. I'm going to play you this, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is the chief of police in Brooklyn Park in Minneapolis. And he says that he's got officers who are people of color who are getting pulled over and asked for their papers. So just listen to this.
As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, preventing her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down.
Okay, so I don't know why you wouldn't identify yourself as a police officer a little bit earlier in the incident, and I don't know what the facts of that are. Here's what I know. If the narrative starts to take hold, and it is, and it has been, that we're pulling people over and asking them for their papers when they're American citizens, that ain't going to fly with people who are voting in the midterms, and it's going to turn out very badly for Republicans.
It truly is. And let me add to this, and it's anecdotal evidence. I literally, at about 2 o'clock today, talked to my oldest daughter who lives in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
And she was giving me very specific examples of people that she knows who are people of color who are being pulled over by ICE just because they're people of color. They're not, they were from this country. They weren't even immigrants. They were just black folks driving around getting pulled over by ICE, number one. Number two, my daughter was shooting video. She's not an activist. She was just like, there was stuff going on out not too far from where she lives. And she thought, hey, I might post this video on social media and get 8 million likes. So she's shooting video. Cop comes up, or an ICE agent comes up to her, my daughter, and specifically tells her, if you don't stop doing that, I'm going to arrest you and I'm going to take you to jail.
Yeah, see, that's
she was on a sidewalk.
It's ridiculous.
She was not impeded. Yeah. So I think, Mark, we can separate what happened with Ms. Good, which clearly, no question about it, I think the evidence shows that the officer was reasonable in thinking that his life was in danger. He was injured by the vehicle itself. He responded in self-defense. To me, that's clear cut,
Absolutely.
open and shut.
Yeah.
All right. We can separate that from tactics that may or may not be legal, but even if they are, they're going to have an enormously negative appearance and can cause the Republicans to lose the House of Representatives in November, after which we'll have 2 years of nothing but impeachment hearings in Washington.
And that's where I fear that we're heading here. And I think there's some unforced errors. And the other thing the administration needs to do, now Trump did this afternoon, but it was one of the most boring news conferences you'll ever hear because he was just reading from the teleprompter. He put a bunch of pictures up there during the briefing. He basically hijacked Carolyn's briefing today. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. But he put pictures up there of some of the people, the bad guys that we're going after. They need to do this more. They need to tell the American people who they're trying to arrest and make sure. And if some of this nonsense is happening, look, I love Tom Homan. I think he's doing a great job. Tom Homan needs to get involved and say, no, we can't do that stuff. And, I'm just worried that this whole thing is going to turn out really badly for the Republicans on an issue that they 1 year ago completely owned.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a story that, even though we're kind of behind it already, your suggestion about getting ahead of this is perfect, because if we don't start getting ahead of the story, when I say getting ahead of it, I mean publicizing that the administration is only interested in arresting criminals, and not just anyone, but criminals who've committed violent crimes, murders, domestic violence, anything that's more significant than simply being here illegally. They're not going to be tolerating the detention of American citizens for no reason, and they certainly can't be violating people's First Amendment rights when it comes to shooting video of these incidents. This is something that has to happen, and it should happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right. Before I let you go, there's a Supreme Court case that deals with some handgun limits in Hawaii that I was unfamiliar with that you might be able to explain. I haven't heard anything about this case.
Yeah, I can tell you about it. What happened is that Hawaii has a law that basically says if you want to bring a handgun onto someone's property, that you must first tell them that you have a handgun, and secondly, you must get their permission to bring a handgun onto their property. That's the Hawaii law. And under that law, it essentially pits private property rights versus Second Amendment rights. But an oral argument that happened today, I was reading real-time summaries of what the arguments were, and there's no question this is going to be a 6-3. They're going to shut this law down because essentially it nullifies the Second Amendment by saying property rights are more important than Second Amendment rights, and this law is going to get stricken.
So here's a little bit of the exchange. I don't have the audio here, but this is the Chief Justice asking Alan Beck, who is trying to challenge the law, says a gas station on the side of a highway is private property. It's owned by the gas company or whatever. Do you assume that you have the right to go on that private property even without any express permission? And Beck says, yes, Your Honor. And Robert says, even though it's private property? And he says, yes, absolutely. I'm not even sure I understand that exchange there.
Well, that exchange was trying to, and what Roberts was trying to do in that exchange was to make the point that if you read the letter of the law and apply it, if you've got a concealed carry pistol, which under Hawaii law you have to get a permit to do, these people have permits that are the plaintiffs.
Right.
But if you have a concealed carry weapon and you go gas up your car, you're violating the law. Because under the law, you would have to go.
I got you.
You would have
Yeah.
to to gas up your car, go get permission from the gas station owner to say, "Can I gas up my car here, even though I'm carrying?"
Okay, that makes
Glock?
sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of
it.
sense. All right, going back to the arguments from last week. I guess it was a week ago with the court on some of the other issues that are before them. I'm thinking, I guess, mostly on immigration. What are your expectations there? And I guess on the tariffs, which we still haven't heard from the court on the tariffs, and they were expecting that maybe in the last week.
Yeah, listen, every single day we keep hearing, oh, the tariff decision's coming out, Basically, what I think that means is court insiders know that the decision was done, but now there's being some rewrites or revisions, and that's why it's not coming out. But let me tell you, at the end of the day, number one, I see the Supreme Court striking down Trump's ability to issue tariffs under the IEEPA, that's the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. However, remember during the Biden administration that the court said you cannot forgive student loans, but that was only one specific statute or executive order. So then he would say, well, I'm now doing this under a different executive order or statute, and they would have to go back up to the court again. I see Trump doing and playing the same shell game, that even if the court strikes the power under the IEEPA, he's got 4 or 5 other statutes that he can say, well, I'm collecting statutes under these other, or tariffs under these other statutes, and then we're going to be going back up to the Supreme Court through the remainder of his term.
Yeah, I guess a week ago what I was thinking of, and I was trying to come up with the case, but the brain wasn't working here after 4 days off, was all the issues relating to transgender athletes and when the court's going to rule on that. Look, and the day after that, you got Josh Hawley questioning a woman who's a doctor not being able to, answer whether men can get pregnant, which is very interesting. But it seems like the court is very prepared to uphold the states like Missouri's laws along those lines with gender-based biology being the focus of whether you're not, whether or not you're allowed to play in a particular sport.
Correct. The Supreme Court's going to uphold that probably 7-2. I think the Justice Kagan is going to side with the conservatives because at the end of the day, I know we're out of time, but very quickly, at the end of the day, transgender students are not being denied anything. They're not being denied the right to play basketball. If they want to play on the boys' team, they're welcome to do it. They're not being denied the right to do that. They're just being denied the right to choose whether they can play on the boys' team or the girls' team, but they're not being denied the right to play. And so there is nothing that is being barred from these students. They are not suffering any harm whatsoever. And at the end of the day, Title IX means what it says, which is on the basis of sex. That's biological sex. And I see the Supreme Court really establishing a firm precedent here in support of states wanting to protect women's athletics.
I hope it is 7-2. It'd be great if it was, even higher than that. But I think that it shouldn't be just a conservative versus liberal split on that one. I'm glad to hear you say that. Thanks, Brad. I appreciate you coming on here this afternoon.
Always my pleasure.
Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We still have some volume out there. Westbound 6440 Kings Highway out through McCausland. Moderate volume headed for 270. 70 eastbound jams at 270. We had a report of an accident there. Westbound 70, moderate volume past the airport, but it really stacks up east of 79. There was an accident really close to Bryan Road, and that has created a jam out there. By the way, it was on the right-hand side. Southbound 270, moderate volume in pockets from Olive down through Gravois. 55 is slowing south of Arsenal through Bates. And we've got a jam eastbound. Well, it's actually 44 in both directions around Kings Highway. It's mainly because of road work eastbound in the left lanes. We look great if you're headed into Illinois. And still some slow-moving traffic northbound 170 headed for 270. Due to an earlier accident. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
I have an amazing story that was in the free press at the FP.com today about one of the biggest names in the genre of young adult fiction, which I think you'll find fascinating. That's coming up here in a couple of minutes. Then we get to Tech Talk Tuesdays with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet just after 5:30. Susan L. Ward is a divorce attorney here in the St. Louis area, family practice attorney. That means that you might need to see her when circumstances at your home are not very comfortable. But I want to encourage you to do that as soon as you possibly can, because Susan will prevent you from making mistakes. She's going to guide you through this process, which could be very, very emotional and tricky. I've said this before. Look, I'm an angry person. I don't remember ever being more angry than when I was going through the divorce. And some of that was because I had an attorney who was new and didn't have a lot of experience. So it was very confusing to me. Take my advice. Don't do that. Go with someone who has a ton of experience, and that's what you're going to get with the law offices of Susan L. Ward, LLC. They have a beautiful new facility. They moved into a new building at 270 in Manchester last May. I know Susan's very proud of that. If you need their help, contact her. Don't be afraid to do that. It's confidential. You can do it online at stlfamilylaw.com or call 314-783-9400. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Wondering if dangerous contaminants are in your home's water? Get Leaf Home Water Solutions today. We can't live without water, but we can take actions today to make it safer and healthier. Leaf Home Water Solutions is offering a free in-home water test. Just visit leafhome.com/free to schedule yours. With results from their advanced digital testing, Leaf Home Water Solutions can design a whole home system and expertly install it in as little as 1 day. With Leaf Home Water Solutions, you can feel confident that each drop of water from every tap and appliance is cleaner and safer for you and your family. We can't live without water, but we can take actions today to make our family's water safer with Leaf Home Water Solutions. Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
So, you know, I declare my love and affinity for my Apple products on a regular basis, but they're driving me crazy right now because I just did an update on the software on my iPad. I live and breathe with my iPad Pro here every day in front of me, and that's where I get all my stories on my reading list, etc. Nothing is working right. I've rebooted, and everything was fine until the damn software update. And people who have iPhones know the same thing was happening with the iPhones. They make these little changes that are unnecessary, and they drive us crazy. You have the other kind of phone. I don't know if that happens with you, but it happens with me all the time.
Every now and then, but mostly not. I don't know why. I don't know why that is.
I'm going to try to relate a story to you and the audience here, but I can't even guarantee you that I'll be able to scroll through it. But this was in the Free Press. One of the reasons I love the Free Press, I'm going to try to get Kat Rosenfeld on the show maybe this week to talk about this, is they go in depth on these stories that would ordinarily just be completely ignored. Now, you can make a judgment on whether or not they should be completely ignored, but Kat had a piece today about a guy by the name of Jay Asher. I never watched this, but remember the show that was out, and this was based on his books called 13 Reasons Why. There was a bit of a suicide angle. That got a lot of attention when it came out because I think it was about a classmate who had killed themselves, and they were trying to figure out what had happened. You remember the name of that?
I do.
Okay, so in this piece that Kat does in the Free Press about Jay Asher, he describes the moment where he knew his career was over. It was February 2018, and the rumors had been swirling for days as a hashtag #MeToo reckoning descended upon the world of young adult fiction. At that time in that world, Asher was a star. The acclaimed author of 4 novels, including the internationally best-selling 13 Reasons Why, which had been adapted into a Netflix show that was about to release its 2nd season. He doesn't talk about that show now or about his career as an author. Instead, when he meets new people, he pretends he's never written anything at all. I hide that part of me from everyone I meet because it leads to questions. I don't let myself get into getting to know you conversations anymore. And it was all because of something that happened in the comments section of a blog post from the School Library Journal, which, come on now, right? It's a publishing trade magazine. And what Kat says in this piece is Asher has never formally been accused in any forum of harassing or harming a woman, nor ever investigated, let alone found guilty for such an offense. But he's lost everything, not just his identity as an author, but his agent, his publisher, his livelihood, his reputation. His marriage is over. He's been virtually unemployable since it happened. He says, do an internet search for his name. You'll understand why. His life savings are gone, and his downfall started with an anonymous comment like these. Somebody said in this blog post, I find it bizarre and horrifying. Again, this is in the Me Too moment. A lot of things are happening with people, right? Comedians, Hollywood celebrities,
Right.
people, Matt Lauer, right? He gets taken down. So the comment is, I find it bizarre and horrifying that nobody has named Jay Asher. This is an anonymous person. I heard about Jay Asher back in 2005. It's so well known. His agent has to know. People want us to use names. They want us to know who. I will say the name from my story. Jay Asher. Happy now? Someone else says, I too experienced predatory behavior from Jay Asher. When I discovered the true nature, I cut off all communication and tried to warn other women through a whisper network. He found out and used threats and intimidation to quiet me. Well, Mr. Asher, the intimidation stops now. We will no longer whisper. So what Kat says is what described as a gossip soon metastasized into something that has the power to destroy life. And the way that she writes it is, in hindsight, it's astonishing that these vague allegations of unspecified wrongdoing, which could have been written by anyone or even just by one person posting over and over, were granted such extraordinary weight, even in the comparatively capricious court of public opinion. But as she points out, and here's some of the names I was having trouble remembering: Louis C.K., Aziz Ansari. Well, whatever happened to that guy? That guy was a big name, right? Al Franken. And despite Al Franken being a Democrat, and I don't like his politics, he was so unfairly taken down when all this happened. But here's the thing about this story, and this is what makes it interesting, is you have all these people, as she describes in here, and there was this fallout from the what she refers to as the blanky media men list, the crappy media men list, the demand for rapists, predators, and other, such malefactors. They wanted to be punished, and it had to really be very, very, harsh, and they had to be removed from society, essentially. So Jay Asher was one of those that got taken out. Now, as you read the story, and so I'm going to tell you, it took me about 20 minutes to read this story because it's very, very long. He is a serial cheater on his wife. And his wife knows that now because his wife died. But I mean, he admits that he cheated time and time again. He would go to these conventions that the young adult genre would have, and everyone would be sleeping with each other.
Ew.
Right. Well, it goes into all this detail about that. But the thing is, as gross as that is, and as disgusting as that is, and as embarrassing as that is, he never did anything at all to get him canceled. If you really look at the facts of it, he says, I made horrible decisions in my personal life that tore apart my marriage. I cheated on my wife. I don't care if people still want to look down on me for that. Their judgment is valid because I did that. But they even say in here, before they separated in 2017, Asher didn't just cheat on his wife. He cheated on his wife a lot for over a decade, usually with fellow YA authors he met at book conferences. And they get into some of the names and all this stuff here. But as you go through the reporting, there's nothing at all that indicates that he did anything that could be related to gross misconduct or inappropriate. He had affairs with women. Those women eventually became very unhappy that they got dumped or whatever, and some of them dumped on him. But there was nothing that you could see in this reporting that would indicate that this guy should be removed from Hollywood as a player, especially since he was so successful. But things started cascading. rumors started happening. And Kat's reporting here is quite something. It really is. And I don't think the guy's asking for empathy. He just wants people to know how these things can happen. And there's a podcast, I don't know if you heard about Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. They're doing this movie.
Yeah.
And I think they did Rogan's podcast. And he said something, Matt Damon said something today that I think got taken out of context. So here's what he said.
I bet some of those people would have preferred to go to jail for 18 months or whatever, and then come out and say, no, but that we can't, I paid my debt. The thing about that, getting kind of excoriated publicly like that, it just never ends.
So I understand what he says. Tyrus kind of beat up on Matt Damon and said, you don't understand what prison is like. Well, what his point is that there are people who've gone through what Jay Asher, and I'm not defending Jay Asher, but they've gone through cancellation, and what's happened to them, they think would be easier to go to prison for it because it's ruined their entire lives. Wow. There's something to that. There really is.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got southbound 55 really lined up tonight, but it's just the usual. So south of Arsenal on down through Bates. Now 44 is jammed in both directions at Kings Highway. And part of this is because of road work. Eastbound 44, we've got a couple of lanes down between Hampton and Grand, and I'm talking about the two left lanes. So that has caused a delay. I don't see any lane blockage westbound, so I'm not sure whether they're just slowing for a look or what's happening, but it's a little bit slow past there. And then 44 opens up. Now, we've had accidents reported on westbound Highway 30 tonight. If you're headed out toward Highway Double P, there is a serious jam behind it. And southbound 270, slow pockets south of Olive, down through Doherty Ferry. Southbound 170, a little slow at 64. There was an accident eastbound 70 at 270 that caused a jam. And westbound 70, the accident at Bryan Road that has been blocking that right lane is still causing a jam behind it. And I mean, it's almost back through 370. Not quite, but almost. If you're headed into Illinois, things look good. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
But my lips are turning blue. Are they fast?
My darling, Jerry Kelly can install a new furnace tomorrow, no matter what day tomorrow is, even if we call late at night.
You are my hero.
They're fast and they're good, and they got it going on. JerryKelly.com.
It was about last year at this time I got to know Matt Lawrence over at Game Day Men's Health. He's great. He's got a great location at 6440 Clarkson and Olive. And Game Day would love to see you guys. Maybe it's a situation where it's real life right now. You're getting off work. You have things to do with the kids. You don't have energy. You're really, really lagging behind. What can you do about it? Well, you can make an appointment at Game Day for a free testosterone PSA test. And that visit's going to take you exactly an hour. Matt's very proud of the timetable because they don't want to have you take a day off work or a half day off work or anything like that. You come in for that free test. Within 20 minutes, they'll have the results. They'll give you a plan of action, and there's a customized plan because no one is the same. And if you're interested in something beyond testosterone and things along those lines, well, they have medical weight loss products that they can offer to men and women, by the way. And they have an FDA-certified pharmacy now at Game Day Men's Health. That makes it very easy, keeps prices low as well. Peptides, Matt will tell you, are blowing up right now. You can get a lot of misinformation about that. They can set you straight at Game Day Men's Health. Get started today. Make that appointment. Game Day Men's Health. They're in Chesterfield and O'Fallon, Missouri at GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley, and this is the sound of our attorneys walking into court. Because when an insurance company offers a lowball settlement, we go to trial, prepping endlessly, interviewing witnesses. We know the loss and the cost of an accident. And when it's needed, we go to war for you and take the fight to the insurance company because we've been in your shoes. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
The colder weather is here, and my friends at Hanson's Tree Service want to offer you a 10% winter discount for all tree care scheduled between January and March of next year. Mark Cox here. Call now. Get your spot secured. Also, when it comes to winter plant health care, it's a great time to get one of their arborists over. Have them to prescribe the best treatment options for your trees during the fall and winter season. Tell them you heard Mark Cox talking about it. Schedule your appointment today at hansonstree.com.
Taking care of your health should be simple.
And with the Neovitin monthly subscription, it finally is. Choose your doctor-formulated multivitamin and we'll deliver it straight to your door every month. No more running out, no more remembering to reorder, just consistent nutrition made easy. Plus, subscribers save 10% every month and can pause or cancel at any time. Visit neovitin.com and start your subscription today. Neovitin, trusted nutrition every day.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
5:35. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
From the gateway city to the front lines of freedom. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative. Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal of ThrottleNet. Throttlenet.com.
Yeah, we started this a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to keep it rolling because we love George. We love ThrottleNet. Last time we spoke, you were in Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show, and you made it back safely, I guess.
I did. It was so fun. I tell you, I can't wait for next year. It's a long time away, but I cannot wait for next year.
I think you and I need to talk about me going out there the same time because I could do the show from out there. We have stations in Las Vegas, and that might be a lot of fun next year. If we do a little planning, we can do a radio show from out there. So think about that.
I tell you what, Mark, you must have ears on because we were literally talking about that. At ThrottleNet, we were like, we got to get Mark out here no matter what, just so you can see this, because you would nerd out just like the rest of us. I'm telling you, your head would explode from so much fun of tech. I think it would be so neat. We definitely have to do that next year.
I think there's a 95% chance that we can probably pull that off. I really do. And I've been thinking about it a lot as well. All right, well, what do you want to talk about this week? We got some AI stuff I know that's on your mind. One of the things, by the way, one of the things that I just popped off about, and I don't know if you have thoughts on this. I love my Apple products, my iPhone, my iPad, my MacBook, but 2 times now on the software update for my phone and then the one last week for my iPad, my devices have gotten worse after those software updates. I love the folks at Apple, but what the hell? Why do they keep doing this?
I don't know. I am an Apple junkie as well. My entire world is surrounded in Apple, from the watch, the iPad, the MacBook, everything at home, the Apple TVs, you name it, on and on. They recently have been rolling out updates that have not been so prepared. But I will say they are going to get better at it. And what's coming up, though, this year, what I'm really excited about is what they did 7 days ago. And thank goodness, because all the iPhone users out there are going to love this. You know how much we all hate Siri?
Yes.
Okay, so they tried this Apple Intelligence thing 2 years ago. It failed miserably. They started to partner with ChatGPT, and Siri would start to use GPT. Never ever really got perfected. It never got so good, and everybody still hated Siri. Well, most of the AI team at Apple left. So 7 days. So 7 days ago, they made a multi-year, big-time deal with Google. And I am so excited about this. So Gemini, which is Google's AI, it's the competition to OpenAI. And, of course, it's Google. They have unlimited funds. But it also ties into your Google Gmail account. So if you're on a Gmail account that uses Google Docs or YouTube or anything like that, this Gemini will tie into all of what you do in Google. But what's really cool is this is now going to be the backbone of Siri. And so Siri is about to get really, really smart. I mean, outstandingly smart, to where it can solve complex problems. You can ask it to do multiple tasks in one breath, and it will just go do them. The smartness level is about to shoot through the roof. Siri will understand you better because of the way Gemini works. I mean, everything about Apple in AI is about to get a massive improvement.
So when you say about, that will come in the form of a software update, or it's going to evolve into that?
I laugh because go ahead. I was going to say, those of us with Samsung phones have already had this. Or
yes,
not.
I know.
Yes,
I get that all the time. I get that. In fact, In fact, Sue, I hear that so much that the rumors are Apple's coming out with a foldable iPhone pretty soon, hopefully this year. And all of the Samsung folks are laughing at me because they're like, we've had a foldable phone for years. What are you talking about? Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes. So this is going to be in the form of a software update, and the expectation is later in 2026. I'm expecting it Q2, early Q3 of the year, but this is going to be a major software update. Nothing you have to do on the device. I believe you have to have a 13 or greater phone, iPhone, and I'm not sure on the iPad, but
right.
Yeah, but it will be a software update, and when it happens, it will be revolutionary to the point where I'm almost thinking that I may change all of my home devices away from the Amazon Echo over to Apple Home, which I haven't done because Siri has been so terrible.
Right. Well, with a young girl about to turn 11 named Alexa in my household, I might consider that as well, because that becomes a challenge.
Yes,
By the way,
yes.
why did the entire AI team at Apple leave? Is there a particular reason for that?
So there's been a big fight, internal battle back and forth about this Apple intelligence thing. So Apple, obviously always leads the way on the greatest technology. They may not always lead the way on the newest technology, but what they'll do is they'll wait and perfect, and then they blast it out. And they really got burned back in the day with Apple Maps. When they first launched it, it was terrible, led people all over into lost places. Half the roads were missing.
Oh, I remember.
They have since tried to catch up with Google. So when they launched this Apple Intelligence and it failed so miserably, obviously all the shareholders and all the people who the environment of Apple got really, really ticked off about it. And so it caused an internal uproar, and most of them left. And so Apple's looking at this like, look, we've got great hardware. What we don't have is any AI software. And so that's when they tried to get with ChatGPT. And now, of course, they're partnering a multi-year deal with Gemini, which honestly, there's a couple of different sides to this. Now you've just empowered Google big time. And not like they needed any more power. You know what I mean? These guys are already the biggest thing in the world. So Google now is going to be the premier platform for all Apple users, all Samsung users. Google is now the platform. So there's a danger in that, and that comes with what type of information is being fed. So everybody's going to keep an eye on how does this Gemini change when now you have 100 million Apple users around the world using this equipment now that's partnered with the software of Google.
Yeah, that's interesting. And but I can see how some people might be a little uncomfortable with that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And to piggyback on that, ChatGPT is burning through billions of dollars just to keep ChatGPT online. Billions. So they're now going to put ads in the free version of ChatGPT. So you have to start thinking, okay, you're going to put ads. I get, Google started off without ads. Then they did add advertisements. But what does that do to my AI feedback? Are they feeding me back answers about the car I want to buy because there's a sponsor? Are they feeding me ads because of certain information that's out there? Now, OpenAI is saying we will not feed ads to the free version that have anything to do with health or politics. And the ads will be only to 18 years and older. You'll be able to at least clear your history so that it's not tracking you. They promise not to sell your data to the advertisers. Of course, all that waits to be seen. Who knows? But the point is now the trust of AI may start going down just a little bit until people get used to it, because you don't know the responses that AI is feeding you isn't sponsored, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. And that's what every time I talk to you, I get more and more scared based on something related to AI.
Yeah, it's changing every week. I cannot tell you. Every time I look up, something's going on with it. It is happening so fast. And if you're not involved with it, I encourage you to go out and just sign up for the free version of Grok and Gemini and OpenAI ChatGPT just to try it out. It is changing so quickly, though. We just need to be aware of what we're being fed. And again, nothing to be scared of on this side, because, look, when Google started, there weren't any ads. We were being fed search results based on what we were typing in. And now all of a sudden there's ads everywhere on Google, and they're tracking every search that you do and feeding you ads through everything else because they're selling all your search results to everybody else. So I think that's the way AI may go. I didn't expect it to go that way, honestly, but I do understand it from a ChatGPT standpoint. When you're burning through billions of dollars a year and not getting anything back, I mean, how sustainable is that? That's probably going to go away pretty soon if you don't start generating some big time revenue.
So there's not a day that goes by that I don't open up, whether it's New York Times, the LA Times, Washington Post, St. Louis Post-Dispatch, that I don't see a story about these data centers and whether or not a particular community is going to allow one or whether or not we're going to have them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is going on like crazy right now. You're trying to keep people, from buying up too much land in certain parts of the country. But this crazy AI, data center stuff is getting nuts.
It is, and honestly, it is needed. It's going to happen whether communities like it or not. Honestly, what's going to happen is they're just going to move to the next community. Now, there is an argument to this. Yes, there's a lot of jobs to build them. There's not a lot of jobs to maintain and operate them because a lot of this is automated. Not automated in the way of robots. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of people to run a data center compared to a lot of people to build them quickly. What you need is electricity. So that is definitely something that is going to end up being a benefit to everyone, is that the infrastructure of America is going to have to get an upgrade. When you have 100 million electric cars on the road and now you need data centers in order to power everything else, along with robotics, but AI, is dependent on that electricity in the data centers. And look, I hate to say the Pandora's out of the box, but we're not going back 5 years ago and starting this over. It's going to keep progressing. So it's a matter of where they're going to put the data centers, where we're going to build power plants, how we're going to get electricity. It's going to have to happen for the progression of the country and the world, for that matter.
Don't get me wrong. I wish I had a big 400, 500,000 acres that I could sell to one of those companies right now and retire or even 400 acres. I would take that as well. Tech Talk Tuesdays with George Rosenthal. ThrottleNet.com/971 if you want a free baseline IT checkup. George, always great to have you on. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks.
Great to talk to you.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, the good news is crews have cleared the accident westbound 70 near Bryan Road. The bad news is it had a pretty good jam going behind it, and it's taking a while to thin out. Also slow is eastbound 70 approaching 270, where we had an earlier accident. Westbound 64, still a slow go. Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound slowing at Big Bend. Westbound slow on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 55 southbound slowing at Bates. And if you are headed into Illinois, now's the time. We look great on the Poplar Street Bridge. Don't forget about road work eastbound 44 between Hampton and Grand. There's a little bit of a slowdown there. They've got the 2 left lanes blocked until 6. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they have been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces, quality craftsmanship, and lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, it's a big week at the Missouri Athletic Club, especially the west location. I tend to hang out a little bit more west other than the legendary downtown location, but west has been around now for 30 years. This is the 30th anniversary. Those of us who've been around St. Louis for a while remember the Town and Country Racquet Club. The MAC took that over, and this Friday they're going to party like it's the 90s at the West Clubhouse for that 30th anniversary. They got a DJ and some food and all kinds of fun stuff, and you should see some of the pictures. I'm looking at some right now of what it looked like back then compared to now. So party on Friday at the MAC and the 30th anniversary. One of the reasons that I got involved with talking about the Missouri Athletic Club is because of the philanthropics, I can't even say that word, the charity work they do in the community. And we pick 3 children's charities each year. And on February 4th at the West Clubhouse, we're going to celebrate those new charities that we're going to take good care of. Books for Newborns, Joshua's Great Things Foundation, and Missouri Kids. Those will be kind of rolled out. You can find out more at the MAC website or the MAC map. We do this, or app rather, we do this every year. We pick 3 charities, and we focus on those charities with the Charitable Society for Children that the MAC has. And you can always find out more at mac-stl.org.
We're about to make this thing happen, St. Louis. It's your main man, Jimmy Fala, and I am coming to the factory right in Chesterfield. It is this Saturday. So come join me. Tickets are on sale at 971talk.com/events. It is this Saturday.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I do appreciate all the referrals that we receive daily. It is phenomenal. I've said it. I can't say it enough how much I do appreciate the referrals. With that being said, if you do refer me, you're in great hands. I will not sell homeowners that work hard for their money, just like myself, crap that they do not need. But if you want good quality, man, you can't even say cheap anymore. I don't think I can even say cheap by the, you can't even go by price. Oh, okay, that's another commercial. Call me, Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Remember, it's the only number, Missouri and Illinois. 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com. Now that's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So I have a couple of pieces of audio that I would describe as stragglers that will not be my audio cut of the day, but I had to get this one in here. You know who Pam Grier is, the actress? She became very well known with the black exploitation films in the early 1970s, and then Quentin put her in Jackie Brown also.
That's how I know her.
So she was on, I don't know why, if she's got a new project, but she was on The View today with Sonny Haas and the gang, and this is what she said about growing up in the South.
Faced a lot of racism growing up in Columbus, Ohio. How did that shape you?
Sometimes we would go from, tree shade to get back to the apartment. My brother and I, my mom, with bags. And my mom would go, don't look, don't look, don't look. And she'd pull us away. Wow. Because there is someone hanging from a tree. And they have a memorial for it now where you can see where people were and left. And it triggers me today to see that a voice can be silenced. And if a white family supported a black, they're going to get burned down or killed or lynched as well.
Well, that sounds like a horrible story, right? Pam Grier wrote a memoir. She wrote a book, right? She never mentioned that story. In fact, the last lynching in Columbus, Ohio is recorded in 1911.
Oh, okay.
So she's 76 years old. There was an underground lynching in South Point, Ohio in 1932, 17 years before she was born. So nobody challenges her at all. She doesn't write about that. You think if that happened, she would write about it in her memoir, which she doesn't mention. And she goes on national television and just says that and isn't challenged. That's quite stunning. But that's your national media for you, because it's not even covered in the aftermath. No one's going to cover it except for something like this.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, come on now. Our friend Alex Rich will be here tomorrow. He's on an airplane heading back to St. Louis with the sports director of KMOX, Tom Ackerman, after attending the national championship game last night. This has to be cut of the day.
To the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and go diving toward the end zone. Touchdown!
Oh, my God. What an amazing call there. Wow. And the Hoosiers are the national champions.
College football, national champions, Coach Kurt Signetti and the Indiana Hoosiers. Woo!
You know, Signetti's kind of a strange guy. They always try to make light of the fact that if he cracks a smile, that's something special because he's always got this very serious look on his face. Here's what he said after the win.
We won the national championship at Indiana University. It can be done.
How are you going to celebrate, Coach?
I'm going to beer.
Yeah, he said that after the win a couple of weeks ago. He goes, I'm going to crack a beer, and I can't wait. But, you know, it does give, whether it should or whether it shouldn't, I said this earlier, I'll continue to say it as a Mizzou guy and someone who never, ever would expect to compete for a national championship in football, despite all the successes in the last 15 years. But name, image, and likeness gives the opportunity for some of these schools that never had that hope or dream to perhaps participate. So that's the positive that I take away from it, because IU would never be undefeated and national champions if it wasn't for NIL.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are improving on the commute. Watch out, though, for a stall. Eastbound 6440 out at 94. But westbound 64 looks fine. It's approaching Hampton out through McCausland and then a little slow Highway N out through Prospect. 70 westbound still unwinding, headed for K due to an earlier accident at Bryan Road. And we look great on the bridges downtown if you're headed into Illinois. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We all have different ideas of the perfect retirement, but they all depend on the same thing, not running out of money and preparing for retirement.